The Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 164. I am Mel, that is Sam. We are just two broads talking about the pro wrestling we watch. And as we're coming on the air, we're coming on with some sad breaking news over the last half hour. Unfortunately, a legend has passed. Sabu apparently has passed away.
He was just 60 years old, and most of you probably know, especially if you watch this show, he just had his final match just 3 weeks ago. He wrestled Joey Janela in his retirement match for at Joey Janela's Spring Break, and the match actually almost didn't happen because about maybe 6 weeks before the show, if that, Joey had to have shoulder surgery and thought the match was going to be off, and he was just like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And he's like, I have to have this match. We have to do it. And I'm sure he is very glad that he decided to push through and make this match happen. And it was wild and chaotic, and it was probably everything Sabu wanted from his final match. And I'm glad that Joey Janela was his final opponent, because Joey is somebody, he loves and respects Sabu so much. And I think that Sabu deserved to be in the ring with somebody who, and I think I think a lot of people in wrestling definitely do respect Sabu, especially because of what
I don't think a Joey Janela exists without a Sabu, and I think
I think you're right. I think he'd say the exact same thing. Yeah.
So I think it's kind of perfect.
And so I'm glad that Sabu got that moment, but I'm glad that Joey was the one who was able to give that to him. I think that's something, and it's really interesting. I don't know if it's going to change now, but I saw the tweet a couple of days ago. Tomorrow, Joey was scheduled to release a mini doc about that match called How to Kill Your Idol. So I don't know now if they'll still go ahead with the release. They'll wait to push it back to be out of respect. Maybe they push it back. But that was supposed to come out tomorrow. And it was basically just a kind of a behind the scenes of how the match came together and all of that stuff. So I like it. I already was interested in seeing it, but now knowing that this is basically Sabu's final words about this match and things like that, it's going to be really interesting to see. And as I said on Twitter, I was not an ECW fan. That was not my style of wrestling. So I missed Sabu in his prime. And so I got the Sabu that was in TNA and WWE. And then obviously I've seen some indie stuff that he did. And I obviously watched the last match with Joey. So I missed all his prime. But I also know how much he meant to this business and the way that he changed this business and the respect that people have for him, as from both fans and wrestlers alike. And it is a tremendous loss to have somebody like him, and I also, I said this on social media, but he is the very definition of sacrificing your body for your art. Like the fact that Sabu made it to 60 is pretty incredible, considering the things that he did to his body for us. Well, and also for himself, but for us, for him to make it that, as long as he did. And I send he has my respect, and I send all of my condolences out to his fans and the people who did watch him during that time. And then of course you have obviously a little bit of a different connection with Sabu. I think you're muted. Mel, I think you're muted. Mel, I think you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am.
Oh, we missed all that.
No, that's okay. Yes, he is. I did watch ECW back in the day. That was the one that I could sneak out and my parents didn't know, because it was usually on in the wee hours of the morning, and I was a teen, and that's why Taz is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Taz, Sheik from here. Sabu is obviously related to Sheik. The reason that, we we don't have ACW at all without those people and the school. And he was obviously related to Sheik and that school of what used to be considered garbage wrestling. That was what they called it. They wouldn't book these guys. They wouldn't book, Sheik and Bobo Brazil and all these people because they were cutting each other and they were using trash cans and they were doing and that was considered garbage wrestling for a long time. But here in the Midwest, along with my mother-in-law, I believe, went to like one of his cousin's wedding. I mean, that's how.
Wow.
Yeah, they're local, real local. I mean,
yeah, that's crazy.
That's especially this week. We had a fantastic match. People were screaming ECW. I'm glad. I'm so glad there was something of a tribute match in a Detroit venue during this week. Yeah, a lot of Detroit talent on some of the shows this weekend. Yeah. Sam just told me right before we came on, and that's ouch. That's ouch. I love that style of wrestling, and he did this in a lot of the stuff he did in Japan as well. Yeah, that crosses over with many of the people they covered this year or in this season's Dark Side, and there's just no Joey Janela without Sabu.
No,
for sure.
Absolutely not.
Because what Joey's doing is the definition of what they were getting yelled at for, right? And getting talked down to.
Well, and you see wrestling fans who talk the way they talk about Joey Janela. A lot of people talk down to him. A lot of it is because they listen to people like Jim Cornette who trashes him constantly.
That guy makes me so mad.
A lot of Cornette fans who come after him, but they are coming after him for the exact same thing they came for Sabu after. And Joey Janela is a polarizing figure where he's, I think generally he's either you love him or you hate him. And he doesn't get a lot of he's the reason the stuff that happens around WrestleMania weekend. Joey Janela is the reason behind that. It is his brainchild, and people don't want to give him that credit because of who he is. And I saw somebody tweet the other day, or no, Joey, I think it was tweeted. He was like, in 20 years, people are going to be looking back and like talking about the things that I did. And somebody was like, no, you need your flowers now. And he was like, I'm not going to give them now. For most people, he was like, they don't respect me enough to give it to me now.
That what, honestly, good on him for recognizing the fact that that's how people work.
Yeah,
because that's true. Right. I mean, Brian Solomon did drop that book, and he's doing one on Gorilla Monsoon that's coming out someday soon. I keep my eyes on that, but he did.
Right, he
wrote that book, the Sheik book, Blood and Fire, and talked about Sheik and his family and the influence that they had on the business, and the amount of drawing him. And I mean, Dick the Bruiser versus Sheik's promotion was. I mean, the 50s, they dominated the 50s and 60s. Yeah. They were filling Joe Louis Arena. That's amazing. I mean, that's the modern day Little Caesars Arena, but it was a lot of what we see today, a lot of what we see around WrestleMania, a lot of the indies we enjoy, he's like, I mean, it's, in terms of like family trees and influence, like there's an unquestionable amount of, I don't think anybody like a Moxley type would tell you otherwise. I think this is. I know that he'll get. Now I'm going to have to resubscribe to freaking Observer so I can read the super bio.
Right.
But that's okay. They throw free offers at me a lot. You can come back now and pay what you wanted to pay originally. But anyway, so it's rest in peace, man. You were a legend, absolute legend.
For sure. And Daza says, I remember seeing photos of Sabu in wrestling magazines and reading about him in the UK fanzines and searching for tape traders to get some of his matches. And I saw somebody post earlier today that like, that's how they saw him was in pictures. And he was like, you didn't know anything about him. Like everything you saw was in these magazines and these pictures. And he was just this like larger than life character just based off the photos that you see of him. And then you eventually got your hands on the tapes, or you could see, in ECW and things like that, you could see him there. Brad said that ECW was what got me back into wrestling after I first stopped watching it as a child. Sabu was a huge part of my teen years and fandoms. That sucks. His barbed wire match against Terry Funk, where he ripped open his arm, taped it up, and just kept wrestling, is iconic. Crash TV 83 says Sabu was undoubtedly a polarizing figure, especially over the years and the no-shows, etc. But he was a definitive of ECW at its peak. Sad to hear he passed away. Amazed he lasted this long, though. Yeah, just an incredible talent and
I'm glad he got that match with Joey in.
I really am too.
That's actually, if you had to write it, an ending,
right,
or pick an ending, like ABC, I think that's a pretty. And maybe he knew and maybe didn't, and I'm sure he understood that. I mean, I think people like that understand like where their time is.
Well, and
you
maybe
listen
that's
to people
why. Maybe that's part of what Joey pushed so hard to just get through his recovery. Maybe Sabu only knew to an extent, or maybe he was just like, like this is it. Like if we don't have this match now, it's not happening. And so maybe Joey just was like, wanted to, who knows, and maybe we'll find out in that documentary. The last I had checked, Joey had not said anything yet. I can only imagine what he's feeling right now, and it might be a while before he says anything. But Brett Lauderdale, who owns GCW, he had some really kind things to say about him. Obviously, RVD just simply tweeted the finger.
They were like so close.
Yeah, he just tweeted the finger up emoji. And so you're starting to see, as we were coming on air, people are starting to leave their thoughts and memories of him. So I can imagine for the rest of the day.
Taz and RVD were the last couple people who saw Sheik alive. So that's how close they were to Sheik. So that's like a brother to them. You think about the fact, but it was RVD was the last person to talk to him, according to that book. And
that's incredible.
Taz was one of the last also.
So I can imagine how the two of them
because they kept it on the DL because of how big of a larger than life he was. And so he didn't want people knowing about his illness.
Sure.
But he was willing to let people like Taz and RVD in at the end. And I mean, to the point where his wife was calling them and saying, he's asking for you specifically.
Right.
So that's
so I can imagine
Taz, my condolences to family, to everybody at ECW who had, everybody.
For sure.
This sucks. But legend.
For sure. I hope that
Icon.
I hope that he knew how much he was appreciated, and how much fans loved him, and how much the business is forever changed by him.
Oh, yeah.
Because because even I, as somebody who didn't see him in his prime and only, saw the kind of watered down version, WWE version of him and the TNA version. Like I've seen clips, of course, and things like that. But I hope that he knows. I hope he knew, how much he meant to this business before he left. And good for him. And I thought, getting the flowers that he deserved over, GCW weekend, or I'm sorry, the More Than Mania weekend and things like that. Again, and of course, just terrible news, and not the way we wanted to start the show, but obviously. You can't have a wrestling podcast without talking about Sabu. I mean, he was just
especially not this one, unfortunately. I mean, especially here because
I thought of you when I saw it, and I almost and I was telling Mel before we went on air. I almost messaged her, and then I was like, oh, well, she's probably in Discord and has probably seen it already. And then we were getting ready to come on, and I was like, well, we're gonna have to start the show, a little bit differently because talking about Sabu and. She did, and I was like, I hate to be.
You're getting my live reacts, people. You are getting live reacts on Powerbombshells.
Yeah, I was like, literally, like as we're getting ready to go on the air, and I was like, sorry, I didn't give you. I was like, I knew I should have sent you a message.
No, it's totally not your fault. It was one of those things where if I had even looked at Twitter too, because. And when you said it to me, that's the funniest part is my thing was up on a social and it was literally the first thing on the social. So it was right there. I'm like, oh my God.
No. Yes. Sabu, I don't know if he passed this morning, if it was yesterday, but the news came out
about in the last half hour.
An hour. We're getting close to 12:30ish or so, maybe a little after. It was announced from PW Insider and then has been announced from some other places as well. I know that AEW sent out a tweet because he actually did he came to corner corner Adam Cole, I think it was, in his match. And so I'm sure AEW will probably post that clip.
I feel like he was like around. He's crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you do see a lot of people when you go to Detroit wrestling shows. You do tend to see a lot of people. So
right. And it's interesting. I
enjoy the fact that these guys, they all like the Truth Martini School. Even from the show this week, all the guys from CCW who are going there. people that weren't even on the show that were some of the local talents. I didn't realize Rhino came from there. I'm like, holy crap.
And speaking of Truth Martini School, Alex Shelley is a coach there now, starting on like
it
Tuesdays.
Makes total and complete sense.
I think he posted about it the other day. Like, I think he just started it like within the last couple of weeks, but or he's going to be starting soon. He's going to be coaching there one day a week.
I mean, that legacy was passed down from people like Sabu, from people like Rhino. I mean, it's so funny. I have this whole thing. So Rhino has basically been at every show I've ever been at, whether it's WWE or AEW. We see it. It was so at indie shows. I mean, it got to a point where I was like, "Where's Rhino? We are at a show." And even when we flew, I tell the Discord people this. Even when we flew to Ireland to see our friend, we 0 dark 30 hours, we crossed paths. He was walking through the Metro Airport wearing his Rhino for President shirt. I'm like,
of course he's wearing his own shirt.
We see him everywhere. Rhino is like our Waldo. Right. We find him everywhere. Like he's our wrestling Waldo.
Yeah.
Well, then I was watching this week and I was like, holy crap, him too. And I was like, this makes total sense because he has been training a lot of the guys. And between John Muse and every single person from the wrestlers I know and the promoters and nobody can say a bad word about this guy.
Yeah.
Well, he worked with Sabu too. Like that culture from downstate here, that is the wrestling culture of downtown, like downstate Detroit Metro, like that's them. That's because they're from Lansing, which is where the capital is, which is east of us. I mean, on the Min, it's about like I just used the map on the show. I can't believe it. But it's it's the influence in Detroit scene is ginormous from that family. And so it's I bet we see some stuff around here because
and Brad
this is a sports town and people love their people here.
And Brad says that Tony will probably do something for Sabu with their when they do their residency in Philly. And
because they usually play and sometimes.
Well, and then we'll talk more about when you obviously being at the shows last week, but it's interesting that we were talking about people, Sabu and how he was treated and how they probably will have that Philly show. But then this Saturday's Collision that's coming up is in Chicago, and it's dedicated to Steve Mongo McMichael,
right,
who recently passed after battling ALS. Obviously was in WCW and things like that, and they're dedicating the entire episode of Collision to him. They're bringing, not thrilled about it, but I understand why they're bringing Ric Flair in to be part of the show. But I know that Ric Flair was very close to Mongo, and was also much like RVD and Taz, where he was there, every single week visiting with him up until the time he passed. And I'm sure he had the feuds with Jeff Jarrett. I'm sure Jeff Jarrett will probably, they'll probably do something with him. I saw somebody saying they thought maybe they'd do something with Dean Malenko as well, because of, all of that. And so we see that, we are having this coming up next Saturday. And so I feel like, it's
a steel cage match.
Yeah, there's a steel cage match happening on Wednesday. So I feel like, I'm sure we'll see some of that kind of stuff with, for Sabu as well. Just because, especially because Tony was an ECW fan. he is very, he talks a lot.
Huge ECW. I mean, obviously he's got Taz. Taz was my favorite ECW wrestler. When that happened, I lost my mind. I mean, I feel my heart hurts for all the sympathy in the world for those guys. I know that this can't be easy, and I know that I even probably know people that this is hard on, and I just
I can imagine
all my empathy to everybody and condolences to the family. And you can't say enough. He was definitely this. The good thing about things like that is all we have is our legacy, and his stamp is on wrestling forever. And if you try to erase it, you're just not listening to you're not paying attention to wrestling, right? That's like saying that big band people didn't have influence on music today.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here.
Unfortunately, we hate to be the one that we've apparently broken this news to several people,
Yes,
so
we're
are
very
sorry.
but we also, like Sam said, you can't not say something when something
Yeah,
that big
Sabu,
happens.
we don't know if it was this morning or last night. The news did come out about an hour or so ago that he passed away at the age of 60. And yes, he did just have his final match with Joey Janela about literally like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, right on.
Crash TV says without Sabu and RVD, the original innovators of the TLC tables, ladder, and chairs minus the ladders, maybe, but probably none of that stuff would exist today, or at least look the way it does at the very least. 100%. And then Fernando says that Sabu was one of his favorite wrestlers of all time. Sabu changed the business. He is the first one to put people through tables. Everyone else copied him. Yep. Yes, he's definitely often duplicated, but he is the original.
The OG.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was.
Yes, he was absolutely. Sabu was absolutely ahead of the curve, and
way ahead. I mean, they were getting. Yeah, they got talked down to a lot back.
Yeah,
I think it's funny that now we see everything we see, and you can't take him if you take him out of wrestling. It completely changes the game. That butterfly effect is just real,
right?
So thank you
for
very
sure.
much.
And then thank you. Yes, happy Mother's Day to all the
and happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Unfortunately, we hate that we had to start
Mother's Day with sad news, but we do have to acknowledge the people that make a difference in our wrestling lives. And but happy Mother's Day to everyone, to all of you moms that are maybe watching, or your spouses or our associated likes. My sister, her birthday is this time of year and falls on Mother's Day every so many years. And so I had to do I send her a birthday card because I don't do the Christmas and birthday thing.
Yes.
Because even as a kid, when Mother's Day would come around on her birthday, she would kind of get forgotten a little bit. And so I made sure and sent, but now she's a mom. So I made sure and sent her 2 cards. She got a Mother's Day card and a birthday card.
Yes.
So I was a good sister this year. And they got there on time.
Good.
So
good. Always good.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So I will be spending time with my mother after this podcast. So she's like, "Are you doing a podcast today?" And I was like, "Yeah." And
but we're gonna be.
Well, I was like, it's mainly gonna be. I was like, most of it. Mel went to Dynamite and Collision. We're gonna be talking about that, and then obviously, unfortunate news happened. And we do have some other things to get to that we'll discuss. But yes, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the chat, and to all of you who still have your moms. Happy Mother's Day to them. And if you are a dog or a cat mom,
I was going to say, and anybody
happy Mother's Day to you as well. I am also a dog and cat mom.
I'm a dog mom. And I also, to any of those of you who, again, have lost your mom or are not close to your mom, happy day to you, because there's almost certainly a lady in your life that has influenced you in a good way. And that's mothering in a nutshell.
And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes you have to mother yourself.
Surrogate moms here in town, who are my mom's age, because I am not that close to my mom. I also have a mother-in-law I'm much closer to, and they're very gracious in their having a positive female role model, an adult positive that's 20 or 30 years older than you. I have a couple of gals. Shout out to Carol. I'm her. All her daughters are all blonde, and she's blonde, and so I made her adopt me as her token brunette, and so that's been going on for over a year now. And she was happy to do it, and so she's happy Mother's Day to her. Especially for you out there that are trying to do it right in this world that we are living in. It is a thankless task, and it is very difficult. So keep up the good work.
Thank you for everything that you do. Yes, for sure. And Robert asked, there's some good comments about Sabu in here. Thank you. The Curry head. So the first time I saw Sabu was in a studio match in Channel 5 Wrestling, Memphis, Tennessee in the early 90s. I watched him jump off the top row and hit a lighting fixture in the studio. That sounds perfectly on brand.
Which you were like, and then you were like, I want to see more of this. Where is this coming from?
Right. Of course.
Because you can't help it. You can't help but look away. You watch some of those old ECW shows, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I know that's not your. I mean, I know that's not the same. Like you have come around a little bit to some of it more, but I know that's not really your jam. That's my.
It was not my jam for a really long time.
But you also are one of these people who like those things that aren't my jam. Also, I appreciate that they exist, and you can like decipher. You have nuance in your ability to critical think. Well, I'm using weird words right now, but yeah. So it's one of those things that I just And I'm glad, actually. Thank you guys for sharing all your memories too.
Yes, definitely. And even if we don't get to all of them on the screen, we can read them in the comments, and we appreciate it.
I'm not sure about that. That would
Robert, I was going to say that I'm not. I want to,
but we might have people in the comments who know the answer, because I know there's some hardcore ROH folks around our
Brad.
life.
That might, if Brad is still here, he.
I was going to say, you know what I love? I got to give a big shout out to Brad also here. The entirety of Fight Game Media now, unless if Scotty Wrestling is not available, we defer to Brad on Joshi everything. So we would like.
I'm glad Brad is here, because later when we get to some things, I have a Joshi related question. I was like, I hope that either Brad or Vinkin is in the chat. Daza may even know as well, and I was like, because I have a question because that's not our wheelhouse. I know a bit about Stardom, but not a whole lot. And so I was like, hopefully one of the three of them will be available at the time we get to that conversation, so I can ask them a question.
Yeah, I had to chuckle at the fact that even Garrett decided this week that if it's a Joshi question and Scott is not available, I defer to Brad. It was seconded and thirded by many members of our Fight Game Media. There was no disputing me here. And so the official, unofficial at Fight Game Media Joshi historian is Mr. Brad there. So.
Congratulations, Brad.
The best part about that is that Kathy's enjoying it. Yeah. But he's also talking. I mean, they're as good. I would, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would venture to say that the Joshis right now are nigh on as good as the 90s Joshis were, and that the comparisons can start to be made. Now, I'm a little out of my wheelhouse on that one, but there you are. I love you. We appreciate that. But they're really good right now.
Yeah.
Because every time I do dip in, I am happy. Watching Minoru Suzuki wrestle Joshis is my favorite thing to do when I'm bored.
It's incredible. And it's funny, and another person who really loves it is Filthy Tom Lawler. He's so funny to watch, and he has this feud with I just blanked on her name, the one that he always is talking trash about. Just blanked on her name, but yeah,
it's true. It is a different style. That's very true.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. And then thank you.
Different style, but definitely something in the course of the conversation. I think these ladies are making history right now. I think they are updating and evolving. Hi, welcome, Maria.
Thank you. Yes, Filthy Tom's nemesis is
thank
Kazuma.
you. See, this is proving it right here on the show. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Jermaine. Happy Mother's Day to everybody in the chat, or if you're watching later, happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy birthday to all you mothers, as they say in Hot Fuzz. Or a happy Mother's Day, but they I clipped a few years back for my mom's. I clipped that scene in Hot Fuzz where he's like, "Oh, you mothers," and I just sent it to them, and that's what I was like, this happy Mother's Day, and he just said, "To all you mothers." It was wonderful. That's very creative. I can be creative here and there. I handmade my Mother's Day cards this year because it's tough times, but I want them to feel appreciated.
Yeah,
because they've been very integral in us staying afloat in our lives.
Okay. So apparently we do have an answer to this question that Sabu did not wrestle for the original ROH. Sabu may have made an appearance in CZW at one time back then. Sounded like that was more his bag than ROH would have been.
Sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. Thank you for that. And unfortunately, we have to move on to some not great things. I mean, not that was great. The stuff about Sabu, that was not great. But yes, and Sabu was in New Japan as well. So Mel and I, we talked about this last week. Mel, anytime these topics come up, as Mel likes to say, we have to deliver a shit sandwich, and we try to deliver the crap stuff at the beginning and then talk about more fun, good things about why we actually do love this business for all of its terribleness. There are things to love about it. And so we will get to that stuff and send you out on a positive note. But since we talked about it just a little bit last week more. Last week was more about the update in the Ring Boys lawsuit. But on Monday, it was not Monday. It was a Wednesday. I'm sorry. We had a pretty big update in the Janel Grant lawsuit against WWE and Vince McMahon. The new judge has finally accepted Janel's amended complaint to be allowed into her federal civil lawsuit. That was the lawsuit that was amended back in late January. Obviously included a lot more detail about the abuse she says that she endured from Vince McMahon. This lawsuit is the one that has information, or the updated lawsuit is the one that has, she officially names Brock Lesnar as the person that she was going to be trafficked to. She officially named all of the corporate officers, including current president Nick Khan. She also named Brad Blum, who is no longer with the company. Brian Nurse had been head of the legal. He's no longer there. And then obviously Stephanie McMahon was corporate officer number 3. Those were made official in this. Then in this lawsuit had a ton more information, but some of the things that, I think probably the most talked about things, I guess I should say, is she alleges that she had to make content for Michael Hayes, who is still employed by WWE. He works on SmackDown. Currently, he has been heavily involved in the Bloodline storyline for the last 3 years. He still actively works for WWE. And so
there's a few of them, I think.
Yes. And then this is where we found out about the office that was built with the knowledge that Nick Khan was aware this office was being built. This office shares a wall with Paul Levesque.
Can we call this what it was, which is like a cell, not an office?
Right.
This was a shared wall with the people that were trafficking her and abusing her.
Right. And there was a door in her office, went directly into John Laurinaitis' office so that he could access her office at any time. Then on the other side, it had a badge lock door, which means you had to have a badge to get into her office.
Why?
So, right. And then of course there's quite a few other things that she alleges in the amended lawsuit, but it was finally accepted. She does have, so she filed this on January 31st, which was the last day that she could file an amended lawsuit. In early January, a new judge was assigned to the case, Judge Sarah F. Russell. And the reason she has a new judge is because her original judge had been in poor health and he actually passed away. And so that is why she has a new judge. They have accepted that. They did also set a few deadlines, which is, we haven't had a whole lot of that. Judge Russell also granted motions by Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE to stay discovery in the case, which means they have paused discovery in the case, but they have until June 13th to refile motions to compel arbitration. So arbitration is not yet off the table. They can refile motions now that the amended lawsuit has been accepted. And then Janel Grant's team would have until July 11th to file an opposition in response to that. So we kind of have a little bit of a schedule, sort of. And then, from there, depending on if they grant, obviously then once they both they file their motions, then from there Judge Russell would either decide that yes, this case can go to arbitration, or no, we're going to continue with this case, and it could potentially go to then perhaps it goes to trial. Then on top of that, there's also the lawsuit. So in addition to this lawsuit and the Ring Boys lawsuit, Vince McMahon is also involved in another lawsuit from shareholders that believe basically there's only a little bit of public information about this. Brandon Thurston has actually been posting about it the last week or so. And I think BJ Bethel may have also posted about it as well. But the shareholders essentially say Vince made a deal with Endeavor, who owns UFC, basically made this deal because they are the only ones who would have allowed him to stay on as COO and that, or CEO, and that everybody else, if he had anybody else that they had potentially bought WWE, would have pushed him out. So they allege, that he did this for himself, and they kind of want to know more. They're basically they're in discovery on their own end as well. And then obviously once Endeavor and WWE came together, they now they merged to create TKO Holdings. And the plaintiffs state that McMahon is resisting turning over evidence related to sexual misconduct allegations. They believe that information is key to understanding why he merged with the UFC and why he did the things he did to the shareholders, basically. And so they are trying to compel information, not to like relitigate that, but mainly they are trying to find out what, why he did what he did. And is it because of the sexual misconduct because of the NDAs and things like that? And apparently from what Brandon Thurston and others have said, it appears that he is not being forthcoming with that information. He is not wanting to turn.
You better watch it with that. I've said this the whole time about the market part. And I know it even like now that we've sat through insurance school, man, it is way more like you cannot mess with the market. Mm-hmm. You can't. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how poor you are. I don't care who you are. Look at the people no rich people go to jail except the rich people that rob from other rich people.
Right. Which is what you have said. You've been saying all along is that you don't mess with other rich people's money.
You can't. When he started doing this with shareholder money, he opened a can of worms that, again, I've said this the whole time, and maybe I'll be wrong, but maybe not. Maybe this will be the thing that they get him with, whatever. But at the end of the day, they'll forgive almost everything.
Yeah.
But they will not forgive you messing with the market.
Right.
You do not do that. That is for very specific people, and only they are allowed to mess with it. And if you do it, if the FTC or the SEC or any of those treasury bureaus start coming after you, the IRS, be afraid. Mm-hmm. You think that you can't be killed by a pencil pusher? Think again. They're the most dangerous. Elliot Ness brought Al Capone down with accountants. Okay. Yeah, that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, yeah. And so they're saying that perhaps some of the information that he's not wanting to turn over, it could be stuff that could have potentially helped Janelle's case. And so that might be why because that's what I was talking to BJ about this actually, because trying to understand kind of more about some of the stuff that was happening. And I was like, and we were talking about it, and I was like, it just sounds like he doesn't want to give that information to them because it could help Janelle.
It's not good for him that this judge. Okay, so it's great for Janelle. Let's be clear here. This judge has accepted her case going forward. Mm-hmm. This is a great thing. This is a move forward in her case. This is another step to her having her day in court.
Yes.
The case is moving forward. This is excellent. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, it's crap news because the amended lawsuit was even worse than the original. If you didn't like the first one sucked and the sequel was even worse.
Yes.
It was terrible, but it's going forward and it needs to go forward because this needs to be addressed. And so in the situation of like, as courts and things go, this is a positive step in the right direction for Janelle having her day in court because this judge said, we're moving forward. That indicates to me that they are not going to allow for the mediation that they've been trying to
I mean, they do
the arbitration that they want to try and compel. Her saying, no, we're going forward. That pushes to me, and just my knowledge, pushes that possibility further away. So that's going to either push them towards a settlement or we get her day in court.
Right. And so, so the next up is basically what is to be expected that WWE and
they'll go back and forth like they did. Now they're going to say that she's wrong, that she's slandering them.
As soon as they file it, Janel Grant's team has time to be like, no, we're not. And
she can pre-write her. She can pre-write her brief to counter her amendment, so that when they want to try to compel arbitration and say that all of this is a lie and it was accounting error and all the same crap they said the whole time. Janelle's a person, not an accounting error. Okay,
right?
Just stop it.
So it's that's the update we have. We'll have more. Obviously, we'll talk about this again once we have more information and the motions are filed, and this will, again, as we've talked about from the beginning, this is going to be a long, ongoing, drawn out process. Vince McMahon and WWE's teams are going to try to drag this out as long as possible, hoping that she just gives up. But again, this man is the subject of 3 separate lawsuits at the same time. You have the Janel Grant, you have the Ring Boys, and now you have the shareholders as well.
So the shareholders specifically, this case going forward helps their case.
Yes.
Because the way that, it works in the courts is that judges make their decisions based on what's going on in other decisions. So if a judge just decided, yes, we're going to make this go forward, then the shareholders are now having a stronger case of saying that this is going on. It was almost certainly going on with shareholder money because of Vince's position in the company and because he owned the majority stake in the company.
Right. And he is the one who made the decision to sell to Endeavor so that they can merge to be, and that's the whole shareholders argument.
And we know that
we want access to this information to basically confirm our suspicions.
Because this is corporate playbook stuff too, by the way, because if anybody has been paying attention, if you notice like the baby powder thing, what they did was they sold off a whole bunch of their stuff and merged into another company. What they do is they bankrupt the company that owes the people that won the case or the settlement. They dissolve that company and merge it into their other companies that they have, and nobody ever sees a dollar or nobody's ever made whole for what they suffered, whether it be cancer from powder or brain damage from fighting in the ring or being a football player.
Right.
Whatever it is, they're doing what it's almost classic. Merge with TKO so we can avoid the lawsuit because WWE doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Which is why, and then if you go to the Ring Boys lawsuit, names WWE and TKO holdings for
and
that
doesn't
reason.
help their case with the feds about the money either. The fact that there are other pending lawsuits against him about the same kinds of things, you could argue that at some point the Ring Boy scandal was being covered up with shareholder money as well. You're getting into
a lot of stuff.
Smart lawyers are going to capitalize on this, and yes, Robert, I agree. I fear that Vince will never pay for his crimes. Maybe he will. Fingers crossed. The only saving grace is that we all end up in the same place at the end. And he can't live forever. I do hope.
Hopefully he faces some sort of
cosmic justice
before. But that's part of the reason we talk about these 3 things.
Correct.
We're not gonna. We as wrestlers, just because we're wrestling fans and we love it doesn't mean that we are gonna not talk about it. We have to.
We are gonna remember.
I feel like we have a duty to talk about it because we are wrestling fans. You are able to critique the things you love, and these are her. And when you don't talk about these things, particularly in relation to the various NDAs and Janel Grant's case, you are turning your head. You are sweeping it under the rug, and these things can continue because it happens in the dark, and we have to shed light on it, and we have to talk about it, and we will continue to talk about that here.
We need to remind people that Rita Chatterton and Ashley Massaro and Janel Grant existed, and
there's other women who are behind.
And there are other women that we don't know the names of.
There and potentially men.
Yes,
that are behind
absolutely. There is so much in that lawsuit that intimates them using talent in this way as well, like male and female talent. It was gender neutral is what that lawsuit reads as.
Right.
There was so much depravity going on in there. When
I
I call Vince McMahon the Caligula of pro wrestling, I am not kidding.
And we've talked about this before. That's what we know from the Janel Grant lawsuit is just one person.
And that lawsuit's 400 pages long, folks. It's a novel.
It is very long, and I have Mel and I have both read through every single page of that lawsuit, and it is one of the most horrendous things that I've ever had to read. And then having to read the amended lawsuit was even worse than reading the first one. And then reading the Ring Boys lawsuit, I have read both of those, and reading the details of those lawsuits are horrendous.
Those victims, they deserve our attention because they were brave enough to say the things that were out in those lawsuits.
Yeah.
And
Mel and I have said that so many times that I
horrible.
can't imagine, first of all, having to admit to yourself that is something that happened. Because that's one thing, admitting it to yourself and then having the courage to go to someone else. Then have the courage to file a lawsuit, knowing, just in general, going against your abuser is difficult.
It's hard enough without that person being.
But then when you have this person who has created this thing that people have loved for decades, and you have people willing to defend them, even though Vince McMahon does not know these people exist, and they are willing to put their entire reputations and just everything they believe in on the line for somebody who doesn't know they exist.
We had a rude dude in our the section over from us this week, and one of the guys I was sitting next to, he said it before I could say anything, and he sat next to me and he looked over and he shook his head and he went, "This is why people hate wrestling fans." I was like, God, he's not wrong. Like, he was just being an obnoxious prick. Fortunately, his friends were like, "Hey, stop. You're being an asshole." So I was like, okay, thank goodness, like everyone around him, but he was saying very inappropriate things about some of the ladies. And thankfully it was a dude next to me who was like, "Shut up. This is why we can't have nice things."
Right. When I told you the last show I got was the fans behind us who were saying a little bit of inappropriate stuff, but then they were wanting to see Brock Lesnar again. And that dude, the one dude was like, "No, man, he's in a lawsuit." Jermaine asked a very good question, and that I don't know. That he wonders if TKO can be disbanded because of what Vince McMahon did and how he went about it.
That's tricky. Companies can face serious consequences for these things. I mean, if they knowingly engaged in doing this to subvert the law, and that's proven in court, there could be a whole lot of ramifications for that.
Yeah,
you can lose your business. I mean, I've owned businesses. If you're screwing around and doing business wrong, they just come in and take your business license.
Right.
That's it. You're just breaking the law. We don't care if you're paying your taxes. You're just breaking the law. Give us your license. And they can even say, and you can never have one again.
Right.
I mean, if you get a liquor license, say, and break a liquor law, you're not only going to jail and paying a huge fine, you can never get a liquor license again.
Right.
I mean, that's just, you have to be so careful with certain things. I mean, like in the crazy dog, sorry. But in the case of liquor licenses particularly, you can't have, because of old speakeasy laws, you can't have entrances, and you have to have, your exits and entrances have to be marked. You can't have a place. We had to have a whole door blocked off in our restaurant because it went to the next door neighbor, even though you couldn't open it, you couldn't do anything. We had to build a thing there because liquor laws. It could be used it could be used to bootleg. So I mean, it had to be marked. No one could go there. You could never you couldn't open it. If we had opened it, we could have suffered. It was I think the minimums were 5 figures fines and time in prison. And I mean, so when you mess around with government stuff,
right? Yeah.
When the feds get involved, you're on a different level.
Yeah.
And they can do what they want because they're the feds. They can. They don't like cooperating, but if it's enemy of my enemy.
Yeah. Right.
All bets are off, and especially when it comes to the market, because whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, and if you even think about politics, the answer to every single question is either where's the money in that, or because they took our money.
Right.
That's and if you think about every problem in America, the answer is cash. It's corporate.
Yeah.
And that's true. And if Vince may have got too big for his britches this time, here's hoping.
Fingers crossed that these people get their days in court and that he suffers
hope these
some
victims are
some legitimate consequences besides, being kicked out of.
As they say in the insurance industry, I hope these victims are indemnified. I hope they are made whole because they should be and they deserve to be. And that's why Sam and I will talk about it all the time. Oh, see, there's the horn.
So and that actually perfectly just ends that segment, I think. And then when Mel is ready, we will move on to the next thing, because we'll move on to fun stuff, because Mel went to Dynamite and Collision last week and got to see two very cool, fun live shows. And if you have been on her social media, you may have seen some of the pictures that she took, and actually we have some for you here if you do not. But once the siren
sorry guys, the siren is just it's just
once the siren is done doing its weekly test,
it actually is so excited about this that I gotta show this to everyone because this was funny.
Wait, hold on, we'll put that back. Oh, AEW is on fire. Literally.
I think it's done. I think it's done.
Maybe it's winding down.
All right. So yeah, so this right here was my husband was a super cool dude. I was over talking to Mr. John Muse, who also joined the show, and we were chatting, and Bob did a quick yawn and toss of our little Powerbombshells pogs that Sam and I got made up for us, and landed it right there for Nigel and who was with Nigel?
Tony.
Yeah, Tony. Now, we don't know who picked it up. It was picked up at some point, but
hopefully, whoever picked it up has now subscribed. Welcome to Fight Game Media.
Hopefully, if you know who took it, but whatever. Yeah, let's scare. So what I wanted to do is I made sure is to give you guys a little bird's eye view of the venue. My dog is going to scream through this entire thing.
That's okay.
So hang on one sec.
Mel's gonna have to tell her dog to behave itself, but that's okay. That dogs just do what they.
It's not gonna happen. I have a blue healer, everyone. But so this is a theater. This is the Masonic Temple Theater in Detroit.
It's a really cool looking venue on TV. I really enjoyed that. I really like these venues that they've been running lately. They look so cool.
This was a theater. Of course, as soon as I talk, this was the theater, and what was great about this, and the reason I wanted to show you guys. So this over here would be stage right. Big old chandeliers.
Yeah.
Good job. This over here is stage left.
Okay.
So so you can see the pit there. I took pictures because the mason work in this place is amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. This building has got to be as old as Detroit. I didn't look it up too much, but you can see some of the eaves there, and I just got some pictures for you guys. He's gonna just keep screaming. And there is I squeed. I'm not gonna lie. I have not actually. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think I've seen Hangman on a show.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Hangman is still for those of you who are new here, Hangman wrestled for my local promotion before he even joined ROH for that, and in New Japan. So I've watched him for well over a decade, and so to be able to see him go from these little tiny venues to now being in this spot where he's getting ready to wrestle Will Ospreay, and he's been champion obviously in AEW, it's really cool to see this, and so I'm glad Mel got to see him live, because and even though he didn't wrestle, Hangman is incredible to just be in his presence.
Yeah, he was great. The promos were great.
That first promo night was really good.
We sat on the floor the first night and on the balcony the second night. So that's
a really good scene. And Brad says here that watching on TV, the venue reminded him of Hammerstein and the Fenway Theater that they ran in Boston. The setups are very similar and incredibly great for TV. Yeah, it's a it's a great TV venue. I really like the look and feel of it. I think they've been killing it at the venues they've picked lately. It just looks really cool on TV. It sounds good. I think moving to the smaller venues is probably one of the smartest things they've done in a while, is running these shows at these venues like this, who do give that vibe of your Hammer scenes, and the Fenway Theater, as Brad mentioned, is really cool. And Mel is in the chat. She is sorry. She is apologizing for being loud today, but that's okay. That's what happens when you. That's
my town has decided to literally blare the horn, and
I'm so glad that if something happens to you, that we know the sirens work.
Well, the sirens are working. The dog is working. It's all such a. This is like a total cluster. But there you go. You got Tony. Tony was amazing in this venue. This venue is beautiful. It was perfect for her. I loved watching the wrestlers realize that they were, because the cool thing about theater is that theaters are built for, they have hiding places. They have bombs. They have areas of, they're really fun to use for this stuff, even though people don't realize it. One of the best shows I ever saw here in Detroit was actually at the Royal Oak Music Hall, which is a very similar, smaller, but similar venue where they use the stages, they use the bombs. We'll get to Tony's pictures in a minute when you guys saw her on the thing. That area is so beautiful and it was perfect. And she was having such a blast in this venue. She was just amazing. Yeah. So that's why and then we got some Megan Bain photos. A lot of these, Bob has a way better vantage point than me because he's 6'2". So, but
I understand as a short person taking pictures at wrestling, I understand that a lot of times the top rope getting people.
What was great here though is the way that they had it set up, because what they did is they set it up in the pit, which is the orchestra pit. So they set the ring up in the pit and were able to use the stage as the entranceway. Right. So all the seating around the amphitheater, you pretty much, there was no bad seat unless you were sitting behind, all the way in the back behind the posts, where I was like, they really do have seats there. That's interesting. I don't know how that works, but
good to know.
But we got these gals, and and I had to make sure that I put that on there because in case anybody didn't know.
Yes, if you're not aware, the Hurt Syndicate hurt people.
They hurt people. They're very. In case you missed it, these guys are over.
I don't know. They sing their themes. Are we sure?
Man, they were over. People were very excited. I think one of the biggest takeaways from this week, a lot of people that seemed to be there, it was their first AEW show. Mm-hmm. It seemed to me a lot of people when Justin and Dasha, were asking, "Who's this? Is your first time?"
Oh no, it was no, Dasha's not there. It's Arcady. It's Arcady Ara.
Okay, that's it. Arcady. That's it. She was great. I was like, I don't know her name. But I think Detroit, a lot of people, it was new for them. It was their first AEW show. And I think that they were really super, overly, I think they were more impressed than they realized they were going to be.
Right.
And we had a great time on our Discord thread. We were talking about this. And as Keela put it, Mama Wayne has the ish. And that's why I had to she's amazing.
Incredible. She looks amazing.
I have a few more pictures that I'll post. I was like, I don't even care what Christian's saying right now. She looks phenomenal.
Shayna Wayne is stunning.
This outfit was my favorite. I had to, and then here we go. This is Mr. Man.
People were like, I can't believe they booked Rhino. I'm like, you do know where they're at, right? They're in Detroit. Of course they're booking Rhino.
Folks, let me just give you a little insight.
Tony
Let me
Khan
give you a little insight
booking
Detroit. Put Rhino on a show.
That's almost like, prior to other things we now know about Ric Flair, but that's like being in Flair country and not having Flair or someone related to the Horsemen, or now at this point, it's like going to these places, like these old school territories, and not bringing out Rock and Roll Midnight Express. I was right the first time. But you have that's why Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson are on these shows, is because these are their territories, and that's the type of things that Tony Khan loves, and he's gonna book them. And so of course he's gonna book Rhino in a TV title match, an ROH TV title match against Nick Wayne.
Great though, and everyone was so happy and so excited. Detroit fans really loved it. I love seeing shows around here. It's always fun. The chants are awesome. I love that Don Callis has to go backstage in Detroit because you just can't be heard. I actually quote tweeted him. He said something the other day, and I just said, "Boo, love Detroit."
But what was it? There was something they did backstage the other day, and the crowds, you could hear the crowd say it before. I just blanked on it, and I don't remember if it was Dynamite or Collision, but somebody was doing a backstage segment, and before they said their line, you could hear the crowd reacting in real time, and it was really, I just blanked on it. But it was a really cool moment, and I was like, that's exactly what Mel talks about when she talks about shows in Detroit, is this type of stuff.
Oh yeah, we get serious. It's very fun.
Yeah.
It's, you know what? I love Detroit crowds. I've not yet been. I can't think of a Detroit, even the like indie scene, and that's what's fun is a bunch of our young CCW talent and some of the other local talent. They were all like the security guys and the
that used to happen a lot. Is that
actually, guys, like the people that we've seen here on Powerbombshells that are CCW? It turns out Rhino also is. He's not just a teacher, but he trained with Truth Martini. So I mean,
well, that's the same thing like here when they used to
more
come.
sense because he's part of the local scene. He's going to be even at the event from. I think I may finally get to meet him, even though he's like been in my life for so long. I may finally get to meet him at the end of the summer because we're sponsoring a wrestling event, and I think he is one of the people going to be there. So.
Oh, nice,
because he works with a lot of the kids around here. He's involved in the community, and in talking to John Muse. Like, I have not yet heard a person say a bad thing about this guy. Not young talent, not promoters, not. I mean, John Muse speaks. You know, you listen to him. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. Wrestling. Of course.
Yeah.
Like, this is a layup here in this city. So I know that everyone was freaking out and I had to get me a Swerve picture in there
because it's his house.
Well, I mean. Not just the Evolve thing, but the fact that this is like, you know, you saw him in Evolve and now he's coming back and everyone was.
It's the same with Hangman.
Yep. Hangman. AR Fox
AR
Fox being in that match made me so happy.
Oh my God. That AR Fox spot with Bandito was crazy. And he was talking about they'd never done that move before and they weren't. And he said leading up, and he tweeted about it, that leading up to it, he considered changing it. And then he's like, no, I'm just going to go for it. And it looks really cool. But AR Fox's, we've talked about this before, but I'm so glad that AR Fox is getting these moments and getting these matches and getting the love that he deserves because AR Fox is incredible.
It was so cool because, particularly since, like, again, Evolve, he was constantly, we would like stand next to him at shows, you know, he was been so involved in the talent that's on in the ring that night. He was also involved in training a bunch of them. So, but this was a moment, you know, that it's just like when the guy behind us had never seen Naito before, a lot of people. And I think this is really important to remember is like, not a lot of people have had a chance to get to a New Japan show, or it's not like they come to this area. So even the person sitting next to me was like, wow, I didn't think it was going to be as big of a deal, but it definitely is. And I was like, right. And I mentioned, you know, I was at Madison Square and he's like, are you serious? That's my favorite match. I was like, oh yeah. He's like, I wasn't sure if it was going to be as cool, but it's as cool. I'm like, oh no, this guy. I love this guy. He'll never disappoint me. I got a fantastic new wallpaper.
I love him.
He said, bitch, I had to throw this up here because we were having a great time. And I did mention it in the Discord. So Justin Roberts throughout the night kept pointing out this staff member here, Bob. And because Detroit is Detroit, and we've even, I think it was, just Jim Smallman from Progress Wrestling. Was doing a thingy, and I think I've told some of us, but for you new people, we were at a show one day, and we were in the Knights of Columbus Hall, and there was a cross over the ring, and Jim Smallman was talking about Jesus, and he didn't think he was going to be watching over us, and Detroit literally starts a Jesus chant. So that's where we are. So that just gives you a quick. Justin was thanking Bob all night, and he kept pointing Bob out. Well, Bob kept getting chants in Detroit and not just on Wednesday night, but the people that were there on Wednesday who knew about Bob were actually chanting for him on Thursday as well. Fantastic. As soon as he came out, the chants for Bob started. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Bob. Detroit appreciated you, Bob. You got huge chants. Thanks, Bob. I had to because even in the Discord, for some of the Discord people that were on our Dynamite thread for Thursday, my Bob, who is my husband, was very excited about Bob chants also. So I just felt like it was necessary to include this so that everyone knew.
I appreciate
and
that.
Our favorite. I loved seeing Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe is amazing. He's
living his best life right now. I don't know what else to say. He's a wonderful person and a wonderful wrestler. And there we go. There's that hologram and Rhino situation that was going on here. I got me some Queen Aminata.
Love her.
Queen
We love her
sightings. I
too.
didn't want to do too many spoilers. I didn't want to get.
We do have. I am going to get to Jermaine's question. Jermaine had a couple of questions related,
Yeah.
and I will. Jermaine, let me come back to you. Let me see. He asked you. So did anyone catch the ROH taping? Because it looked like we were getting Athena versus Thunder Rosa. Can you?
Yeah, and I'm getting.
confirm or can you confirm or deny?
Now, we did have good crowds for our ROH tapings.
Good.
One was before the Wednesday night was before Dynamite.
Mhm.
Thursday night was after.
Right.
We were debating, but ended up staying because Athena was listed, and we were really glad we did because should I spoil it or should I let you see it?
It's up to we'll give the people a chance to answer real quick. We'll also tell you your responses come up in your responses come up at a bit of a delay, and so it may take us a second to get to them. But if you don't want to be spoiled, if a majority of you don't want to be spoiled, we won't say.
Well, I don't necessarily want to spoil you either, but it's related to Max
I knew
Caster's.
I will say
it's related to Max Caster's Open Challenge. How about this? I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
I will say this. It was worth it to stay for Max Caster's Open Challenge.
Okay.
I will leave it there. And when you see it,
and then
Athena,
but I knew Athena was going to be there because she tweeted something about going to Detroit and being there. So I assumed if she wasn't going to be on the show, she was going to be on ROH because she's not been on ROH television in a while. So I at least appreciate us getting that.
So she did come out. We actually got to see her do a little, but I feel like we saw her at SmackDown when she was Ember Moon. She came out, she did a round, she went away. That's kind of what happened here a little bit. I don't know what it is. We can't seem to see her wrestle. Yeah, this is one of my favorite moments. This is Collision.
I knew it when I was like, Mel is loving this Nigel stuff. I know she is.
Lost my freaking mind. Oh my God. This was the best part of the night. I was just losing. You were right. Whatever you imagine me losing my shit. Yes, I was completely, it was fantastic. Nigel was awesome all night. We were right there so we could see right down on them.
Yeah.
The funniest part was like some of the nights, because they would go to commercial or do whatever, where we were sitting, we're like, Excalibur, make your screen bigger. Because you could see, like when they were on the far side of the ring, we couldn't see the action because it's not a big arena where you have which is fine. Okay. But everyone was like, hey, X, make your screen bigger so we could see on the other side. And he's from Detroit also, so that was
fantastic. Speaking of Excalibur, tonight Family Guy is doing a crossover with AEW, and there appears to be an Excalibur is going to be involved in it.
I hope someone just tells him to shut up, and that's all. And
this comes out because apparently Colt Cabana's brother or brother-in-law, I think his brother, works for Family Guy, and that's how he he just randomly tweeted about it like yesterday. So apparently on I believe it's tonight's episode.
Excellent.
Excalibur will be involved with that. And then Jermaine also asks, did you like the Mercedes versus Jamie Hayter brawl at the show?
Yes. It was wonderful. It was fine. We were glad to see Jamie. It was really cool. I think I got some good pictures of her, but I wanted to keep this like reasonable because otherwise you've got like 3 million pictures and it's Mother's Day. I want to make sure.
I get it. Oh, thank you. Curry Head said his brother is a writer. Yes, that's right. I couldn't remember exactly what the tweet said. Thank you for
That's clarifying. Pretty cool though. I like the crossover. There's a lot of crossover. Yeah. Here's a guy I have never seen live before. Both of them actually, but
I thought so when Speedball was out there. I was like, you know what? I don't think that
not live.
I was like, I don't think Mel's seen Speedball before. I didn't get to see Speedball for the first time until last year. I saw them actually twice. I saw them here in Charlotte, and then when I went to DPW. Actually, no, it was the year before that because then I saw them again. I saw them twice in DPW, and then I saw them once at another promotion. And so that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't think Mel's seen Speedball live before.
Not live. And me watching people realize how good of a wrestler Speedball is. Yes. That is a really good time when you're someone who knows how good he is and you're excited to see him live, and then everyone around you is like, holy crap, that guy is amazing.
Speedball.
Like people were gasping around me. I love it. It was so great. I am so excited. It was fun to see the luchadors because I haven't seen a lot of luchadors in the time that I've even though I've gotten to major shows, the crossover hadn't started yet as much, so it was very much limited. This was great. I have zero complaints. Excellent match. Excellent guys to do it. Speedball is great, and seeing him live was just a perk. I mean, it's so cute because a lot of these people that I did get to see are people I saw when they were on the indies. So it's like you see them all grown up now.
Right, exactly.
And it's amazing. And this I went too far. Match of the night. I came home and put this on my one of my match of the year lists. This was amazing. I hope it came through on television. It seems like it did. It was great. They killed it. Yeah. Stat and Willow for life. Make this a thing. I want this feud forever.
And I think we'll get that. And it was interesting because the promo that Willow cut afterwards, because of what happened, she was like, Chris and I will eventually our things are still unresolved, but we're basically going to be fighting each other forever.
Watching a women's strong style match. This is one thing also. Yeah. No one got up during the ladies' matches.
Love to see it.
I was and they were into this match. Everyone was there. Everyone was seated. Everyone was into this. Everyone was cheering for it. Same thing with Tony earlier in the night or early in the week, the Wednesday Dynamite. People were excited to see her. Again, like I said, there were men yelling at the man in their section who was being a douchebag and saying inappropriate things.
That's what you get.
And then again, like the man next to me who said, "This is why people hate wrestling fans so much." I'm like, he said it, not me.
It's true. Maria says is very happy with the AEW's been Speedball. Yes, and me too. And then speaking of this, before we move on, there was a clip. I think it was after Dynamite where Speedball and Kevin Knight. And Kevin was like, I'm getting ready to go do BOSJ. I'm gonna hold it down over there, and Speedball's like, I'm gonna hold it down over here. And then when we get back. So they were like, when you get back, we're basically going to go at this again as a tag team. So it seems like they are going to make them like an official tag team once BOSJ is over, which not something I saw coming, but I love it. And I love the way both of them have been booked so far in AEW. And I think this is you might as well capitalize on them and make them a tag team. I mean, obviously they can do single stuff. And they could do it down the road, but I think now I think that's a really smart move for them is to make that's a tag team I didn't know that I needed, but I want it so bad, and I'm glad that we're getting it.
Now, the Okada match versus Kevin Knight was not like what you would want necessarily.
I was so annoyed by that. I mean, it ended up
it disappointed me because when I woke up that morning and my friend had said to me, "Oh my God, you're getting this match," and I was like, "Oh my God, no way!" Yeah. And I know that the argument that was going on this week is like you don't get big match Okada during the TV shows. You get him during the pay-per-views, to which I was like, what did you guys think what was going to happen? Like, he wasn't doing
these are not people who
he wasn't doing weekly TV before. He was doing New Japan schedule. New Japan schedule is entirely different than the way we do things. He's getting used to doing TV. You're not going to get big match Okada all the time.
You're getting house show Okada.
And beyond that, this isn't about Okada. This is about Kevin Knight getting a rub.
Right.
This is
and of course it got the bullshit at the beginning, but once they actually started wrestling, it was good. And my
Bob and I and our friend in the seat next to us, we're all very disappointed because we really wanted to see Jet get to really wrestle. But when he did finally get to do his few spots, a lot of people were like, "See," and he was like, "Oh my God, he's so good!" But even he was mad because he was like, I literally wanted this match. This is like what I was here for. And it was like, oh, you guys are going to do shenanigans. It was super
disappointing to realize. I mean, it made sense because of everything that they're doing, but it was still unfortunate. And I know that they're going to run it back at some point.
But he did get spots and he did get reactions from people who were clearly like, who this guy? Yeah. So, and there was a lot of that. I think that's really great to see that these people are actually resonating with real wrestling fans who haven't seen them before. Right. Because the people here, they came to see wrestling. Yeah. All you have to do in Detroit, when you go to a wrestling show, all you have to do is put on a good wrestling show. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, We're the one thing I will say, but everyone here's bought in. Dog's barking again. See,
it's okay.
He's bought in too. So we got Chris and
Nikki
Willow.
says that your dogs agree.
I totally agree. Just the one. The other one's being very quiet.
Somebody, before you move on,
Yep.
Crash TV says, can we talk about Anthony Bowen? Says, get up like Jesse Ventura from the Running Man. Gimmick seems a little overcooked. I enjoy the gimmick. It feels authentic to Anthony because Anthony is, he does come from a baseball background. And I really like, I mean, I think obviously it's going to take him some time to kind of feel his way in because we've only known him really as a member of the Acclaimed, and he was such a strong part of it. I think I'm enjoying it. I've been advocating for a long time to have Anthony Bowens away from Max Caster, and we're finally getting it. And so I think, it's only been, it's been like a month. So I think we'll get there with him, but I'm enjoying this gimmick.
This seems to indicate, the way that I took this whole interaction was that they are moving him away. They're trying to get him away.
Yep.
Billy Gunn is a really big deal here in Detroit. Now, what you didn't get to see off camera, because he's not allowed to do it on camera, is that off camera during the break, one of the kids did give him a suck it, and he turned around and he looked around at all of us and he looked at the producers and said, "Are we off air?" And they said, "Yep." And he turned around and he did the suck it right there, and he got the world's biggest. We almost lost the top of the Masonic Temple Theater. When he was here at the LCA the last time, one of the things was he was very surprised. The people here were very excited to see him. He almost he got choked up at the reaction he got here when he was the last time. He is very over here. He very much appreciates it. So he gives us, we got an Easter egg off air. He gave a giant socket to the kid that did it, and it was, I don't usually get excited about that, but in this case it was a very appropriate thing. It was very much because we are invested. And the talent was appreciative of our investment. We got a lot of things off camera from them. We got a lot of love back from the wrestling.
Good.
The wrestlers, the talent, the whole. Justin Roberts and say your name again. Arcady do a great job.
Yeah.
Because they understand that they are hosting a show.
Right.
On and off air.
Yeah. Right.
So
right. Yeah, they're really good about doing stuff like that during the. I don't think I've been to a show yet since Arcady's been there. I don't think, but yeah, she seems to be.
She's learning.
She's
new. You can tell she's new at it.
I take that back. I guess Collision this year she was Arcady. You know what? I think Arcady was on it in Collision. Now that I say that,
you can tell she's new, that she's feeling it her way. Yeah, but you can tell that she knows what she's doing, feeling her way. You know what I'm saying? She's gonna be fine.
For sure.
She's someone she's on the right track.
Yeah.
She was interacting with fans and stuff, really fun. It's like she's leveling up.
Good.
Justin has it because he has, and he's done it forever.
Yeah, obviously Justin's done it for a million years.
And in this particular, especially at AEW, he's open to do some of the stuff that he does because he can be comedic and he has written. I hate that he was named in Speaking Out. I found that out at one point, and it really bothered me.
He was, and yeah. So I have my reservations about him.
It really disappointed, but I mean, it is one of those things that I do have to acknowledge, and it's frustrating, but it is something that, because you have turned me into an aware person, that I do have to acknowledge. But I am glad that she is doing an excellent job. I think she's following his, she's doing the things he does right, but she's taking it and making it her own.
Good for her.
They gave away all-in tickets on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
They just randomly picked a couple people.
Very cool.
But I felt like the whole, and we'll get to Tony's announcement, but I felt like the whole cast crew, the whole thing, they were very happy to be here because we were very happy to have them. Yeah. And here we go. This is some of the best
of Tony. Mel, these pictures are so good. I love these pictures of Tony.
Bob and I shared this is both of us. But if you notice here, so this is the stage right side that I was showing you guys earlier. And if you get real close up on them, so she popped up. There's in places like theaters like this, they have you can come in through the door. There's also a trap door in these places. Mm-hmm. And those there are the box seats. So that's where fancy people.
Yes. And then shout out to Bob as well.
She snuck out of the little area there. There's a little trap door and kind of came up out of there. And she looked beautiful. This
Stunning.
where they put her was perfect because if you see that the molding
lighting
there in the back,
yes,
just,
everything, the molding, the lighting, just that whole.
So that's my little that's my
her.
Toni Storm collage of beautiful pictures. She was. I know you guys. It's really funny because it's a film trick. Because of the black and white thing that they do, you have to wear certain colors when you do black and white.
Yeah,
so the last time we saw her, she was wearing green for the camera. This is one of those acceptable reds that came out. I have a picture that I'll put up where I actually caught her and the screen. So I got the black and white and the.
Very.
I really wanted to show this. She killed this promo.
Yeah. Oh, that promo was great.
She killed it. We loved it. It was beautiful. I'm so glad. This theater was made for Toni Storm. Toni Storm was made for this theater. And what's great about this is the last time I did see her at Forbidden Door. The last time I saw Toni Storm really doing stuff was the Toni Storm she faked being for a while there in progress.
Yes.
When it was Toni time.
Brad would like to know why you colorize these pictures. Toni only exists in black and white.
I know, it's funny, right? It's weird to
she gave
be
them the TCM version. I love that her new finisher is the TCM chicken wing. Or a TMC, yeah, because it's a movie classic. I always flip those letters, but the TMC chicken wing as her finisher, brilliant.
That is the end of my slideshow. So I kept Toni for last. Obviously, the dogs were very excited about her.
As they should be. And I heard something briefly. I don't know all the details, but I heard that Juice is getting even. I know that I'd heard a few weeks ago that Juice was back in the ring working out, but I'm hearing that he's getting even closer to her return. And I'm so excited about that because as much as I love Toni, and I love her so much, but I love Juice so much as well. So I'm ready for him to come back, even though Switchblade, of course, is now out. And so
we did have one more thing that I do have to throw up here because this was a big 2 nights in a row. Tony Khan had an important announcement in Detroit. Now on Wednesday, and to be clear, if you heard the pay-per-view chant, you're welcome.
I did hear that clip that I tagged you in.
He walked right out. I started screaming pay-per-view. Everybody joined me. It was great.
Good job, Mel.
I made sure everybody understood that we scream pay-per-view at Tony every time he comes out, which is what we did every time. Finally, and he did thank us, and he was very kind, and he was very excited because we did have a good time, and he had a good time, and we jazzed him up, so he was super hyper. And he promised on Wednesday night, no, I'm sorry, I've got it backwards. On Wednesday night, he guaranteed a pay-per-view in Detroit, Michigan, in the Motor City. Not in that building because it's too small. Right. Hopefully, probably the LCA, I would imagine. We go back to the where the basketballs and the hockeys are played.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, we were guaranteed that. I asked John Muse if he felt like that guarantee was serious. He said he was going to email Tony and ask. He had already emailed Dave I was like, well, make sure Dave's pushing this one. He's like, we were joking in the Discord right at the beginning of Dynamite. The funniest thing, I think it was Brian said, Dave will expect your report by 10 p.m., John. Because we were both there and people were asking us questions in the thread, and it was very hilarious. I said, yeah, but he doesn't have to do the collision report, so he doesn't have to worry about it. And of course he answers, I already emailed Dave. That's, because it's John. We had a great time. I got to meet I didn't tell anybody this. I wanted to wait for you. I got to meet the ring announcer for Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Oh, awesome.
He was with John Muse. Nice. I'm hoping to reach out to him in the future. I would love to have him come around.
Which would be a great
He was very, very nice. It would be really cool to actually just get people to understand what JCW does.
Right. Especially we talked about it. Caleb Conley, who on my shirt, Caleb Conley, currently works for Juggalo Championship Wrestler.
Fantastic.
He works besides being a wrestler, he works behind the scenes now as well. And they're touring. They're coming here soon-ish, I think. I appreciate the Juggalos and what they do. It's not for me.
I am not
as much as I love Caleb Conley, I will not be attending. but I appreciate what they do, and I have a lot of respect for what they do, and they respect the business a lot.
Correct.
And so that would be awesome if we could have him on, if we can work that out.
Super duper nice, very cool. John was like, she has a podcast, she's on Fight Game. He was very excited. I made sure to give him a plug, so maybe I'm definitely going to follow up on that. But he was a very cool dude, and I was very thankful to John Muse. So shout out to both of them. Nice meeting you, and thank you for the intro. We do talk about them a lot, and it would be a lot of fun. Did he give a year that the pay-per-view would happen? It might be another 3 years until it happens. True story. This is why I'm going to go to, because I asked again, I was like, do you think that's real? John felt strongly that it was. So on Thursday, when we were screaming at him again, we had another major announcement. He promised us a pay-per-view. Okay. So I have a guarantee and I have a promise. And as John Muse, he did actually send me the Tommy Boy joke about if you want me to take a dump in a box and put a guarantee on it, I'll do that. I have some time. We all had the discussion. Don't believe promoters and bookers. Yeah. It's carny shit. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I was there. John Muse was there.
Oh, there's a video of it because I tagged Mel in it.
That's right. As a matter of fact, that was my favorite thing was I got, kind of on the socials as I was leaving, and Sam and Nikki had already pointed out that Mel got her wish. She got a guarantee. We got a guarantee and a promise, folks.
So I got Wednesday nights. I didn't get the Thursday. I didn't see the Thursday night one
because that was after. That was off air.
Okay.
That was a post thing. But I am backed up by Dave Meltzer's favorite booker at this one. Okay,
there you go.
This is indisputable, and we all know they're on the payroll, just like our boss.
Of course,
just like Garrett. That's why we're all making so much money here.
Yeah,
volunteering our time to enjoy talking to you about wrestling. But I hope he wasn't kidding, because
I hope not either. I heard that reaction. I think the
real question here at this point is, you've been to Detroit, you came for Blood and Guts, you came for the time you came to this venue. You have always.
And he's done 2 live shows. He did 2 back-to-back live shows.
And they were full. Yeah, there weren't quite as many people on Saturday. And people asked me because it sounded like they said, and I know it sounded louder Wednesday, but apparently from the TV end, we sounded just as loud. What I would say is there were a few less people, but the enthusiasm level was very much the same.
Yeah, it picked up because obviously I was on Collision coverage. And so,
there was not as many people, but again, when someone asked me, Mel, is it the same? Because it sounds just as loud. I said, not as many people, just as much enthusiasm.
Yeah.
People were it's been a while since some of these people have been back. It's been a while since AEW has been back. It's been a while since we've gotten to see some of Allison Kay wrestled on ROH tapings
for ROH this week.
Which, I've got my Allie Kay. What the funniest part is, I wore my Allie Kay's hoodie. I've got it with me in case I got cold. I wore it Wednesday night. She wrestled Thursday night, but Robert, who was the JCW guy, he was like, "You're wearing it." He's like, "That's a great hoodie," and I'm like, "Yeah." So we marked out about Detroit wrestling together, and it's
awesome.
It's a good time here. This is like, you could be a not fan. One of the things I even noticed when we were at the CCW at the local here is that there were some older guys that were there for whatever, and they didn't really understand. But it was really fun to watch a bunch of older people start to really enjoy it. They were like, "I like this." And the enthusiasm here is very, it's contagious. It really is. Yeah. And even the people, like, when you don't know somebody, you can ask somebody who is that, and nobody's going to make fun of you here. Like, I was even sitting next to someone who was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Ricochet." And they were like, "Oh my God, I didn't recognize what's his hat." And I was like, "Ah!" So, it's like, it's totally fine. He was being like incognito. It's totally fine.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But Nikki said AEW needs to come to Charlotte other than right at the beginning of the year.
I agree.
Yeah, we talked about that. Especially this year, we got sandwiched in between the Asheville show, which was Fight for the Fallen, and then Collision was the day before Wrestle Dynasty. So a good chunk of the talent was there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Collision has happened. Collision's got to happen. Let's put some matches." And again, it wasn't a bad show. And there were spots that were just kind of, some matches were just kind of like, they're fine. But then it wasn't like previous collisions because it just felt like we were an afterthought.
You might be okay. In talking to John Muse, he is a big fan of Charlotte. He loves it in your area. He was like, I go there for, apparently he goes down there periods of time. It was because I was asking about our friend Mike Gilbert and how he was doing in the process of his relocation. And that is actually apparently happening. So
good.
He's like, and I go down there a bunch of the months out of the year because he's also, he baseball and so forth. But but he's like, oh, Sam said he didn't realize. I was like, that's it, and he's like, oh my God, you have to go visit her. It's so awesome there. He's like, I love it there.
Maybe one day I will join this Discord thing so that I can.
Well, and it was really, but what was a lot of fun about, because that was him and I when we were actually chatting on the way out. And he was putting over your town huge, and how the only other city that he was actually saying to me that Detroit and Charlotte are the two blessed. He said, other than Detroit, Charlotte's his other favorite place. He's like, these are my two favorite places to see wrestling shows, no matter at what level. He talked about the two. He was saying that the only other place that's like this is Charlotte. That's what he told me. He said it's
nice.
Detroit and Charlotte are the two places.
Praise coming from John Muse.
And I thought that was perfect because I was like, great, because my co-host. And he was like, oh my God. And what's even better is he's like, you got to visit her and go see some shows. I said, get her up here and see some shows. I said, and the best part about that is that I also have two of my best Ren Fair friends are based in Charlotte.
Yes. Right, exactly.
So it's literally like after that, it was like, okay, that's the three. You got Sam and Nikki, you got your best friends, and now you got Dave Meltzer's favorite booker telling you that this is one of the best wrestling cities in the world.
That's a pretty big endorsement.
I got to get down there to visit you girls.
Yes,
so
for sure.
We're going to make sure. So maybe if he doesn't put his pay-per-view here, but he puts it there, I'll come visit you guys.
Yeah,
and
I hope one day
we'll kill two birds with one stone.
I hope
I have been to your state. I have been to the tourist parts of your state. I've been to Nag's Head. I've been to the coastal portion. I've been inland, not to Charlotte though. I've almost got to you, but I did mostly the stuff all the tourists do when we come.
Of course, that's completely understandable.
It's beautiful though. And as a New Englander, I love the Eastern Seaboard. We're very rocky. You got sandbars. It's more like the Pacific Coast. So I love it. It's because I like the ocean. I'm a big fan of the sea, which is good because it makes up 2/3 of the world. So.
Yes. But I'm
very but yes, it was very cool. And all of this.
It sounded like I was going to ask you, did they, it may have just been the timing and the way I saw it. Did they really boo Nick Wayne because he beat Rhino, or was it because Christian picked up the title and wouldn't give it to him? Because on TV, it came off like they booed because Rhino did not beat Nick Wayne to become the ROH TV
There was
champion.
a little bit, I would tell you this, is there were a little bit of homers in the crowd that were booing that. But I think most of us were booing the fact that he was holding the title. And
because the timing of it sounded like, because I was like, I know y'all did not really think that Rhino was coming in here, his first match, winning an ROH TV title that Nick Wayne just won that he's taking with him to Japan. Like
I would say that the smart fans in the building were yelling at the fans this is not a joke. This is how funny Detroiters are. The smart fans in the building were like, what did you expect?
Right. Because that's exactly what I said.
So the booing, what you heard, how you heard it was the initial homers booing, the people yelling at them for being stupid, and then booing the title. So that was the trajectory of that, because it was hilarious. Because I remember because the group I was sitting in, when the homers started booing, we all went, "What are y'all doing?"
Right. Okay.
The same we had your reaction, Sam. I had a "what are we doing here" reaction. And so did everyone around the arena. They got the message and shut up. And then we started booing what we were supposed to be booing.
Right. Okay. Because I said something on Blue Sky and I was like, are they really booing Rhino losing because Nick Wayne, because that he was not going to win that title? And somebody was like, no, they're booing Christian pick up the title. And I was like, no, I think it started though when Rhino
but there was homers.
Okay. And so I was like,
and they got their win later. So I don't know what their problem was. They got their win later. It's fine. They got the best. Believe me. How about this? There was a giant Rhino payoff I'm not going to talk about because again, it was on ROH and I'm not going to even do it. But We got plenty of Rhino both nights. He got his flowers. He was well loved. Those few homers, I'm sorry that they came through. They were put in their place properly by the people surrounding them. And
that's
exactly
why I wanted to ask you. I was like, I'm just going to ask Nell about it on Sunday because she'll tell me. She was there in the building.
I mean, it's a wrestling show. You get your people who don't
of course, yeah, because and again,
that was
Charlotte has their fair share of people booing things they shouldn't be booing.
Because one thing I will tell you about wrestling fans here is that most of the people here watch WWE, but because they love wrestling, they'll go to just about any wrestling show.
Yeah.
Like the shop owner that I put onto this show that he went Wednesday and brought his group, they're not AEW watchers. But they are pro wrestling watchers, live pro wrestling watchers. Like he promotes the show here in town.
Sure.
That's how him and I hit it. It was like, oh, we both like wrestling. We can talk forever. And we can. But he's a WWE mostly watcher, but they are live wrestling watchers. So many people that are usually probably WWE watchers went because they're our wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And then you get that here a lot.
Yeah.
So I think a little of that.
Yeah. Sometimes, I can definitely
just
see that with some of the fans we get AEW. You can tell they're just wrestling fans and they'll go to anything that's live. USBA guy says that he's conflicted. He said, we know his disdain towards AEW. Unfortunately, I have to do Rocky a favor and help them with promotions for Double or Nothing Go Home show because it's in Albuquerque. And Nikki told him that he has to do what Rocky says.
It's true. I mean,
just think of it that way, that it's just you're just helping Rocky out and you're doing him a solid, and Rocky will really appreciate it, I guess is the best.
Or you could tell him what Chico El Luchador would tell you, which is no do job.
Again, as I said on Friday, all I want is the Talking Shopomania 3.
Me too. I saw you do
that. I don't know this Good Brothers poor man's version of the righteous thing that they did in their promo, or as Doug, who's been on our show before, Doug said it was a poor version of the Wyatt family. I don't know what that promo was, and I was like, I just want Talking Shopomania 3. Like I don't.
Yeah, me too. That's fine.
I don't need the Good Brothers in my rest. I've said it many times. I can handle them in small amounts. I can't handle them in big amounts. Like the BTE segments where B started to get cringeworthy for me. I can't. It's just not for me.
No, that's the.
And I'm sure they're great, and I get it, and I know that there are some people who love them, and great for you, love what you love, but just it does not work for me. And in 2025, I don't need to see them in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And so I have not had a chance. I didn't buy Resurgence because I knew I wasn't going to get to it this weekend because I was on SmackDown coverage, obviously. And then BOSJ started. So I did watch last night. I got to the first set of BOSJ matches and I saw the really cool Ninja Mac spot this morning that all over my timeline. And
I love that guy.
Ninja Mac rules. And so that spot, if you have not seen it,
not
really
yet.
Cool.
This is I'm tomorrow because I had a lot of IRL work now last week. I kind of started IRL jobbing a little bit in life. And so it kind of took up a lot more of my even week than I realized. And because I've been out of that for a while, it's kind of like learning again how to balance your time.
You've got a lot that you have to deal with.
So
I had some IRL stuff too. So
yeah,
I get it.
Well, and it's wild because you start to figure out all the things and it's got layers. So it's like, okay, well, now I need to also remember that I still need to take care of myself because of the disability and the chronic illness portion, but I can do these things. So it's just about learning my balance, and that just takes time. Of course,
you have to use what your boundaries are.
And because of my brain, because of the way it functions now with the missing the portion of the temporal, when you change your habits, it's a lot harder because my processors don't write this stuff as quick anymore. Yeah. So it takes me, it's like when I'm in a new space. Yeah. Like I'm more likely to fall or bang into something if I'm in a new space and going too fast. Of course. Because of my blind spot, because I don't know where everything is. Right. So
understandable.
It's
going to take you some time to get used to it.
So I'm adjusting. And so I want, my biggest thing right now is that the wrestling, like going to Dynamite and Collision was my getaway. And I don't want, and I learned this from my friend, is you make sure that you do that on your leisure time when you're being recreational, because you don't want to associate it with anything bad. You don't want it. It's your wrestling time. That's my getaway time. So this week will be when I start, now that I have an idea of what the things are going to look like, where it's like, this is my wrestling block day. This is my wrestling block day. This is self-care time with the wrestling, with the video games, whatever. But wrestling is an escape for me.
Yeah.
Even as tired as I was, and I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm so glad. There's nothing will fix your life more than a great freaking live wrestling. I don't care what level it's at. Indie wrestling in a gym, pro wrestling in a theater. I don't care. It always makes me feel
I can
better.
attest to that too.
That's my therapy. That's my self-care. And Wednesday and Thursday, really, I can't even, it's really not that far when you city people. Detroit's not that far away from us. It's fun to go to the city. It's always like, I know it's hard, but it's beautiful. And it's got a lot of old soul masonry, and it's been around forever, and I love it. And I like getting to know it because I've been here 10 years, but I still don't know the city as well as I know a lot of other cities that I've lived in. And I love, bless this state and its wrestling fans. You guys rock. Thank you. Tony should bring us a pay-per-view because we rock. We're loud. We're fun. We know who people are. You can debut anyone you want here. We'll know who it is.
Well, you kind of got a debut.
I know we
got Zach Gowen.
Oh, dude. You know what's so funny about that is I actually had to ask a little because I didn't know his story. But he also is a school. He's a Truth Martini guy.
Okay. Yes. So I
local
knew I didn't recognize him because he has blonde hair, and I didn't recognize it. I was on Collision coverage because I'm like typing, and I was like, Nikki and I were both at the same time. We were like, and they were like, "That's Zach Gowen," and I was like,
and then they put the graphic up that he's going to be fighting, and
that's what we were going to get to. But like, I was like, are we getting a Zach Gowen match in 2025? I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then it was with Ricochet, and I was just like, and then Ricochet is talking about how he grew up watching him, and I was just like, this is so surreal because I watched Zach Gowen in real time in WWE when all of this was happening. Like, it's just,
I need to go read. So
it was.
I don't know much about it, but I do know that it was
a time. It was a time. I mean, I enjoyed Zach Gowen, and then I think I feel like there was some stuff afterwards when he left that maybe not the greatest. I can't exactly remember because unfortunately with wrestling there's plenty of it, and you kind of forget who does what, and I can't really remember. Like, I don't think
that's okay. When I subscribe for the Sabu doc,
it's not like he was named in Speaking Out or anything like that. It's
not but some of those wrestlers of that era had a lot of crap going on.
And I feel like there was something, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But also, he is, that was, a while ago. So hopefully, you know what, good for him getting a payday.
Well, when I re-up for Sabu,
he's not somebody I want, I don't think he's like, I don't think we're getting an all elite graphic. I don't think I think it's just, maybe it's a one-off thing or something they revisit every once in a while. Okay. Then Brad says that Gowen had some substance abuse issues. It's great to see him cleaned up. Yeah, he looked great. Like, he looks really happy. He had his kids with him and all that stuff.
Yeah, we could see the whole thing going on. So I mean, it was pretty.
Nikki said she was too busy staring at his 1998 bleach blonde hair to even look at his face.
Well, maybe that's why they're doing. Maybe that's why they're doing the match at Beach Break.
Yeah, so they are. Yeah, so that got announced. So if you missed the show, Ricochet was talking trash to Zach Gowen, talking about how now he's on this side of the ring and Zach Gowen's on that side of the ring. Zach Gowen's there with his two kids. He's in the ring, running his mouth. Zach Gowen jumps the barricade, and they tussle, and Ricochet takes his prosthetic leg and carries it over his shoulder.
Then there's tell you how many people called him Rocket Raccoon at that point.
Oh.
A bunch of the guys in my section were like, he's Rocket Raccoon now. They all kind of said, I was like, God damn it, they're not wrong.
So then there's this video you see of Ricochet, and he doesn't say anything. He's just grinning because he has Zach's prosthetic leg. Zach lost his leg at 8 years old to cancer.
Oh.
And that's where this came from. And then that was his whole story. And he wrestled for WWE for a while. And of course, there were leg-related things when he wrestled in WWE. He was there. I can't remember now how many years he was there.
Oh, I'm sure that they made all kinds of
maybe 3 or 4. Yeah, because it was during that
I'm
era.
sure Vince made all kinds of ableist.
Yeah. And so there was a
yeah.
lot of that, and so it'll be. I mean, it's fine for what it is. Ricochet is probably the best opponent for him for
That's
the
how I
character
felt.
that he's doing with the heel stuff. Like, if it's gonna happen, this is probably the best way for it to happen. I mean,
they're trying to make Ricochet a bigger douche, but they don't really need to work that hard. But I guess
no, they
this is
don't.
Fine.
Yeah. So
I mean, that was
it'll
like
be
the least
it's fine.
out of all of the
it
hours of wrestling I saw live this week. The Ricochet part of the program. I mean, I'm happy for Zach. I hope that that's like part of his recovery, and that's a good thing. And
yeah,
I hope
good
that
for
the
him for
Chicago
getting
fans
paid.
appreciate that, and that there's something to that. And nothing. I don't necessarily.
Yeah, I think he's still active on the indie scene apparently. So like,
I think he works with local kids to train them.
That makes sense.
A lot of these guys, a shocking number of these guys, the ex-talents, continue to teach around here. It's
right.
Really cool, honestly.
Yeah. And honestly, if we're gonna see anything, I would rather watch Ricochet wrestle Zach Gowen than watch Gunther wrestle Pat McAfee.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
And since that was last
Backlash?
night, and that was last night on Backlash, and it should have been a squash, and apparently it wasn't. And I've watched a good chunk of the Fight Game Media post show today. I got a good section, and Jeremy, I don't know if he's listening, but Jeremy was correct. Everything. I didn't watch the show because I did Thunder Thursday Collision coverage, so I didn't have to watch. I didn't have to work last night. I didn't have to cover. I did not have to subject myself to Backlash. But from what I've heard about the match and what Jeremy said, I agree with everything that Jeremy said. And again, people keep asking why this match happened. Pat McAfee is potentially facing a lawsuit for telling a story on his show that was not true and was warned, don't talk about this because it's not been confirmed. And he went and talked about it anyway. And then a few other hosts from different shows used, after Pat talked about it, they thought it was okay to talk about it. And the woman who was involved with that story is looking into potentially suing him. And it has been, and she's talked about it, and that is the entire reason this match happened. It is a publicity stunt and nothing more. And Gunther deserves better than to be that. He should not have had to been the one to have to deal with that. But that's all that was he is, it's yes. So what lawsuit? Yes, so about a month ago, you just look up Pat McAfee potential lawsuit, but he told a story that wasn't true. Had no veracity to it and told it anyway like it was true, and got in trouble for it. And so
he pulled a Brian Williams. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. And so now he is potentially facing a lawsuit from this woman.
He wasn't there, but
so that's all this was. He got a ton of heat for it. And so WWE did what they do. I mean, look up Logan Paul
over here.
The whole reason Logan Paul is in, I am convinced, and nobody will ever convince me otherwise, that the only reason Logan Paul ever came to WWE was for PR because he did some shitty things, because he's a shitty person. And
I totally agree with you.
And so that's why
that people are like,
so many people said, why are we getting this? It's a PR stunt. It's for people to, because he went on and cut a promo a week ago talking about how great he is and all the great things he does. That man is facing a lawsuit because he can't keep his mouth shut.
Awesome.
Because he wanted the ratings and he didn't bother finding out if this story was true or not. And now he's trying to hide behind the little disclaimer on his show. So we'll see if she's able to file a lawsuit, but I wish Gunther should have squashed him and it should have been over. And apparently they had the match, and apparently he earned Gunther's respect for hanging with him that long. I don't know. It's bullshit, but
whatever. Sure.
Whatever.
The Darby Allin question. I think he did the highest kick flip.
Yes, he did do that.
He did a Guinness Book of World Records. He did the kick flip at the highest elevation. So he's as
far as I know, he is still on the mountain. I don't believe
he is still climbing. That was at base camp 2, I believe.
something
was
like
where
that.
he
So
did the
he is
kick
still
flip, and
on,
that is a 5-figure elevation at this point, I believe.
yeah.
So he is at 10 or 12,000 feet at this point. I don't know exactly how high it goes. I know Mount Rainier is like 30 or 40. So
yeah, he's still on his track.
He's only on point
he'll be
two.
there
He's
for
like
a while.
0.2, but he did apparently. And it was a happening on Twitter around Dynamite because it was getting tweeted on and people were commenting on it.
I saw some stuff about
but
that.
apparently he did a kickflip at the highest elevation in recorded history. So there we go.
He did.
So that's
did.
Darby Allin on Mount Everest update from the Powerbombshells as far as I know.
That's what we have heard.
He's still alive and doing kickflips at 20 or 10 or 15,000 feet.
Yes. Brad says, have you noticed that since Mark Briscoe beat Ricochet, Mark has started to grow his hair? Yes, I saw somebody talk about that. If your body beat Ricochet, you have the power to regrow your hair. I saw some people talking about that too.
Boy, were they screaming! I mean, in case you missed it, Detroit knows that Rico is bald.
Yeah, they do. A lot of the towns has made the news among the towns. Curry had said, what is the reaction to Jeff Cobb? Because I didn't watch and I saw the spot. I saw where he debuted last night. And it was in a good spot for him. Also poor Hikuleo, because they were apparently just fuck that guy. Instead of bringing Hikuleo into this bloodline storyline, we're bringing Jeff Cobb in.
Really
again, good for Jeff Cobb.
To like bury him, didn't they?
Yeah, I was like, I mean, apparently, I guess it's just fuck Hikuleo.
I guess he's. Man, that sucks.
They haven't used him one bit. For a company that doesn't bench people, for a company that doesn't bench people, Hikuleo has not been used since they signed him. I think there are rumors that he was injured, and some say he never was injured. They're not using him. He's not in it. He's not even debuted for the company in any form or fashion. But Jeff Cobb is doing something with the bloodline. He helped Solo Sikoa last night. Keela, if you don't watch the whole post-scrum show, there is a clip last night of the reaction from Garrett, Keela, and Jeremy about Jeff Cobb. And Keela has an interesting theory about Jeff Cobb's involvement. Cool. I did not see that. I saw one person make this reference that said that they're really calling him Mexican Rhino. Oh,
come on.
Jeff Cobb is.
He's from
Guam.
He's Chamorran.
He's Filipino. He represented Guam in the Olympics.
I was going to say that's Chamorran. I had a friend. It's not Guamese for all of you. It's Chamorran. That's what they call people from Guam.
Yeah. So, yes, we'll go
But
back
that's pretty much that's par for the WWE course.
So we will go back to the spring break preview, which is one of the things we were going to talk about. So obviously we got the really awesome segment between Will Ospreay and Hangman, which again, we talked about this last week. I'm really part of me is torn because Hangman did nothing wrong. Hangman Page fan forever. And he does have this great redemption story, but I think it's going to be Will Ospreay. Mm-hmm. That is the one who makes it to Double or Nothing. But before Double or Nothing, we are getting a tag team match with him and with the two of them, of course, because can they coexist? They are going to face Konosuke Takeshita and new Maple Leaf Pro champion Josh Alexander, who won the title at their show last night. And then you have this whole thing where Will is like, he's holding on to Hangman, doesn't realize he's kind of grabbed his shirt and jacket, and Hangman is looking at him like, the fuck are you touching me for? And he like grabs his wrist and they just stare at each other. And so of course we have the Can They Coexist going into this match, which I think will be a lot of fun. And some of the very best to do it. So we got, that'll be a good match next week at Beach Break. Then obviously we talked about Ricochet versus Zach Gowen. Then there's Sky Blue is returning, which I'm excited for. And I know I think it was Fernando, somebody in the chat was talking about how they were excited for Sky Blue. I'm excited for her.
We saw Red Velvet.
Oh, nice.
She was on the ROH tapings that we had.
Yeah.
It was awesome. She's back.
She is the ROH Women's TV champion.
It was one of the first it was Wednesday night she came out. I meant to tell you that.
Oh, cool.
So I was so excited because it's so funny. She's been on just about every one of the shows we've seen with them, whether it's been the crossover shows or the TV shows. It's so funny, the pay-per-views. Like, she's been on just about every show. We just love her. Like, we're home. We're like straight out of your mama's kitchen. I love when people are from places like Parts Unknown and,
Yeah.
Those are my favorite places. So.
Yes. So she has been a good champion for them. And then the Hurt Syndicate will give MJF an answer, because you and I have been wondering if the reason they were declining it is because we're waiting for Cedric Alexander to potentially come. Obviously, there's a lot of in real life things that would have to happen for that to happen, because because of the whole situation with Tony Khan.
Well, he Tony Khan kind of has beef with his wife, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was a really bad situation, and then it got even worse because of what Tony said, fans were sending her and their child death threats, which is just, it's a whole mess. And so obviously we've talked about it before, that while yes, there are a lot of places you can go wrestle around the world, in the US you basically have two options to be on TV and get paid, and he just got fired from the one, and so now his other option, especially because his child's 11 years old and he probably doesn't want to leave a lot, wants to be home. And of course, you could go the Mustafa route and Zack Ryder, where you wrestle a ton of indies and get paid well for it and do some TNA in the meantime. And there is that route as well. But so potentially that's where we're going. But it seemed more likely because of the segment with the Hurt Syndicate and their lawyer. And their lawyer they stopped Bobby from talking, because at midnight Wednesday night, that is when Cedric's contract was up. Like his 90 days were up. And so they couldn't say anything because he still had 4 hours to go.
Got it.
And
otherwise it's tampering and you can't do that.
And so he is officially free now. He had his first match. He wrestled Mike Santana at HOG Wrestling on Friday night.
He wrestled this weekend.
Yeah, and I believe he had a match last night as well. And then I luckily am going to get to see him on June 28th for Ashe. They're having a big Return of the King show because our boy Cedric is coming home, and he's wrestling. It's been announced he's wrestling Yaya, which I cannot wait. Yeah, cannot wait for that. And so we talked about this, and if it is Cedric, assuming Nikki said, as soon as I saw the wire start, I was like, oh, Cedric is definitely coming. Do they debut Cedric next week at Beach Break, or do they hold him off until Double or Nothing?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It depends on what they're doing with the Hurt Syndicate at Double or Nothing, because as of this moment, they don't have a tag match. So it may be
because
they do
Tony does
week.
like to do big things on Double or Nothing, where he has that's where
right,
Mox debut.
Also, well, and I think it's pretty clear who is going to be doing. I think now that we know at Double or Nothing, you probably didn't see it because you were not at home, and I don't think they did any of the. So in both women's matches,
the spiders
a spider dropped down onto the screen, and I don't. I assume you guys didn't see that.
We didn't see the spider, okay. But I heard about the spider because they were talking about the spider in not to be confused with the spider, who are friends from CCW. This is a spider. It's a reference to Thekla, who is
the toxic spider.
Who was the toxic spider. But apparently at the beginning of both Dynamite or during the broadcast,
the women's matches both nights, a spider dropped
down from the actual TV screens. I did see it happen actually on one of their screens. Because I was aware the second night. I was watching down on the broadcast teams because you could see their screens because they can see the action. And I saw the one time, and I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about. So
because Wednesday night, like it dropped down, like they were showing like a shot of the ring, and it kind of dropped down the side. And I happened to just be standing near the TV because I was walking to do something. And I stopped and I saw it. And then the next night, it dropped down in like the center of the screen this time. And so obviously, Tekla, for those of you who are not familiar, she is a really big wrestler was a really big wrestler in Stardom. She has been rumored to be on her way to either AEW or WWE. It seems like AEW is where she is going. Fightful has confirmed they have been reporting that she was AEW bound. They confirmed it once we saw the Spider graphic, and so I'm assuming she is the Double or Nothing debut.
That would be good.
Not that you can't do multiple, because they have done multiple debuts. You could do you could do Cedric and Tekla if that's how they're letting this play out. But I do have a question about Tekla, Brad, that I will ask you in a minute. But while we're on I want to stick with the Beach Break thing the Beach Break thing real quick. And then of course we have the cage match between Jon Moxley and Samoa Joe. They've been cutting these great promos about how basically they respect each other. They're both badasses. Only a cage can contain us.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great match. I assume we are both on the same page that Jon Moxley is retaining.
Yeah,
because I was like, you're not gonna get this close to All In and have Heyman and or Will Ospreay face Samoa Joe. Not that those matches would be phenomenal, but I don't think we get this close to All In to have Jon Moxley lose it at Beach Break.
I don't either. I think this is just going to be an awesome match that Joe deserves, and I think that, I mean, they could swerve us, but I just don't see it. I think the bigger issue, I think what's going on here is that, like, seriously, Joe is like living his best life. He was like so happy. We were happy to see him. He was happy. It's like, I think that this is like,
he's a
this is like him going out on his own terms.
Yes. Well, right. And Joe
Moxley in a steel cage seems like the most logical way for him to, like, on his, like, it makes all the sense in Chicago. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, because Joe has said recently that he knows he's on the backside of his career. He's probably only got a couple of years left, and he knows it. And so I think that's what we talked about when he won the trios title. He gets to be in a group with Shibata.
That guy knows. I want to learn to no-sell like that dude.
Right.
Please. I'm going to start. What I might do is just go watch like every Samoa Joe match I can find and just learn how to no-sell like that dude. He's so good.
He's incredible. He is very good at it. And then and then with his trios, obviously in the trios, he obviously gets to work with Shibata, but then he gets to help Hook, who obviously
it's awesome.
Was out, but now Powerhouse Hobbs is here. So he's got these two younger guys that he can help mentor along with, again, Shibata. Samoa Joe is getting, like you said, and then of course, so he gets these singles matches here and there, and he can do these things with Samoa Joe, and or do these things that he wants to do in a cage, like you said, a steel cage match with Jon Moxley is on brand for what this man gets to do as he's winding down his career, and we are lucky to have him and Shibata again. I cannot stress that enough. Shibata was never supposed to wrestle again. The fact that we are still getting him, even if it is in limited amounts, we are very lucky, and I don't take that for granted, because by the time I started watching New Japan, Shibata had just retired. That injury had just happened with Okada, and I went back and watched it, and Shibata was never supposed to wrestle again. And so because I miss all of that with Shibata before in his career, I definitely try to make sure that I watch every single match that he does and not like play on my phone or do anything, because I don't know how much longer we're going to get Shibata. And so I try to enjoy that as much as I can while he's still here, to appreciate those things from him. And yes, it's going to be a real slugfest between the two of them. Real Donnybrook, as he would say. Somebody is probably going to get beat like a government mule in that match.
Sam, I love you.
Nikki, I don't know if she's still in the chat. There was something that happened the other day, and I said something about the fact that he was going to get beat like a government mule, and because she had made a reference to a slot. Because who
love the old one? It's the old ones that they really, they land sometimes.
Yeah, it was going to be a flower knocker, because somebody, who was it that was being, there was somebody the other night who had like a lot of saliva in their match, and I was like, and I said something about it being a literal flower knocker, and now I can't remember who it was, and then I made the government mule reference, and I don't.
That's hilarious. I just sometimes you either don't hear them or you haven't heard that ever, or you haven't heard it in a really long time.
Nigel made me laugh again the other night. He busted out something. And I was like, God dang. And I had to pause it again because I was like, always does this to me every single time I'm on live coverage. He says something. And let me tell you, I do not need a match between Nigel McGuinness and Dax Harwood. If we are we have very few Nigel matches. I don't want Dax to be one of them. Would I be surprised if Nigel handpicked Dax? No, I would not. However, when I saw that playing out, I was like, please don't. This is not a match I want. It's not a match I want to see. I want Nigel wrestling nearly anybody else.
I kind of wanted it to be like Daniel Garcia, like being like, no, you're not going to do this or whatever. But then I kind of didn't, because I think it's I like Nigel and Danny together. I just don't want that match. I don't care about. It's like, I mean, we got some FTR pictures, but mostly we were getting Nigel pictures. That's why I didn't share many of those, because I was like, we don't care about this anyway.
No, I really enjoyed the match with that, because, like, of course I'm typing this out, and like, and then I stopped it and I was like, wait, I gotta see. I was like, I'll go back and watch this, because I was like, I got to hear Nigel, and I didn't realize until I went back and watched the clip that what got Dax to shove Nigel was Nigel said, "I'm retired, just like your hair." And that's what made Dax shove
That's what he
Nigel.
said to him. That's so funny, because we were watching them face off and jump, but you couldn't hear what they were saying from the balcony.
Yeah. And it's not very loud, but you can kind of hear, like, when I went, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's incredible. And Tony Schiavone is just standing here next to him, and oh God.
I just love when Nigel was like, don't ever do that again to Tony last time. And it was just like, now this whole thing is coming because they keep coming back. I'm like, oh my gosh. No, that was a great spot. I will not. We were just like flipping out. It was so great.
You know what? I think maybe it was Daniel Garcia that had the saliva all over his face. I think you're right. I think it was Daniel Garcia. I was trying to remember, but I think that sounds right.
That's it.
But so I didn't, because I was busy this weekend and I knew I wouldn't get to Resurgence. I did not, unfortunately, buy it. I heard Goto, of course, Goto versus Zach, I heard was really good. There's apparently some controversy around there. The ending, I haven't seen much about it, because I've tried to avoid what I can, but obviously it's the internet in 2025. And I wanted to see the show. There's other matches I wanted to see. I wanted to see the ELP match. And then, of course, I wanted to see the women, and they main evented, which was the 3-way match. It was Mercedes was defending the strong title against Azumi and Mina Shirakawa, and Mercedes lost her title because it was a 3-way. Obviously, the champion does not have to be pinned in order to lose. And Mina Shirakawa was pinned by Azumi, and Azumi is our New Japan Strong champion, which was kind of surprising, but I guess also not when you think about it. And apparently, from what Fight Game Media quote tweeted me to let me know that Scott Edwards predicted this ending, and he predicted that this was what would happen. And so, and apparently, because I've only seen clips, and the clips that I have seen is her getting rolled up. I didn't see what led up to it, but I have heard that apparently Mina shoved Mercedes out of the ring so that she, I guess, could not get involved. And so Mercedes got back, and I saw Mercedes got back in the ring, and her and Mina was screaming at each other, and Mercedes was like, I lost because of you. This is your fault. You cost me the title. And they're screaming at each other, and then she chases Mina away so that Azumi can, rightfully get her moment as the new champion. And it seems that once Double or Nothing is passed, or at least maybe All In has passed, that Mina's first legitimate feud in AEW will probably be with Mercedes. And so obviously people were like, why is she losing belts before All In? My theory is, what we've said all along is that Mercedes and Athena is the match at All In. Is it for the TBS championship, or is it for the ROH title? Now it seems more likely that it could be the TBS title, and perhaps it's because she is going to drop it to Athena. And we can see of course she didn't get pinned when she, losing her title, but we are seeing some kind of chinks in the armor that maybe Mercedes is not as undefeatable as she appeared to be before. She can be beaten. Obviously, she was not pinned, so she was kind of beaten. she herself was not beaten because she was not pinned. However, if anybody, again, as we have said, if anybody can pin Mercedes, it is Athena. And I think that seems to kind of make this more likely that is certainly a possibility that could be happening at All In.
Now,
and then Lyric brought up the point that Forbidden Door weekend is the Rev Pro anniversary show, and her guess is that Mercedes will drop the Undisputed British Championship at that show. So there is a possibility that come Forbidden Door weekend, Mercedes might not have any titles.
Oh, so this could be like the slow unwinding of her title situation.
Potentially. I'm wondering if that's where we're going here.
Potentially. That wouldn't be the worst. I mean, that's kind of interesting. Now, do you think she was real mad or kayfabe mad?
Kayfabe mad.
Okay. I was just making sure because I defer to kayfabe.
Mercedes is not somebody, because of how generous she is with other women and helping women, like we've talked about Harley Cameron and how she is the one who gave her, I'm almost convinced she gave her that match. She's the one who called the audible to make sure Willow got that title when she was injured. Mercedes does not, she has kind of blown that narrative out of the water that she's a selfish person and a selfish worker. Mercedes is very good at what she does. She's an actress. I mean, she was in.
Well, that's why, see, I had to ask. That's how good she is. I had to ask you and make sure. I just want to be.
Yeah, and again, I haven't seen the entire match. I've just seen clips, but you know, Mercedes played her part very well. Especially because she lost that title without being pinned, which will be, and she tweeted the next day, I was screwed. I was not pinned. That referee.
And then there was that video of her with the fan, which, I mean, people were like, she freaked out at a fan. I'm like, no, she really didn't. She just was like, I want to go home.
Right.
That's really all she said.
Yeah. So I think it's, you know, I think, but
that's
I'm
what
really
I figured. I defer to it,
story.
but in this case, I wanted to make sure because I know some of the ROH storylines or the things that are going on. It was like with the matches. I'm like, I don't know. It was because like we had the 2 pure eliminator matches on our thing.
Because there is a tournament to it was Super Card of Honor was supposed to happen May 2nd. They screwed around and never got around to. They kind of forgot about it. So then they pushed Supercard to the day before All In, and Death Before Dishonor is getting moved to the Philly shows, and it's going to be happening at 2300 Arena. So the tournament got moved, so I do want to say congratulations to Deonna Purrazzo and Ashley Vox for making history and being the first women to have an ROH pure rules match. However, I have to add the caveat that back in like February or March, like late February, early March, Serena Deeb challenged Queen Aminata to the first ever women's pure match on Collision. And then Queen Aminata got injured, but Queen Aminata is cleared. She just wrestled last week. They have filmed a segment backstage on ROH talking about Serena and Queen Aminata are both in this tournament. So unless there's something going on, because obviously Serena Deeb has had her health issues. So unless she is not currently cleared at this moment, I don't understand why that was not the first pure match that we were supposed to have. And again, this is not to take anything away from Deonna, who is wonderful, and she is somebody.
Yeah, we were excited. We didn't get I mean, that wasn't
and
expected.
that is not to take anything away from her or Ashley Vox. Yeah. I just don't understand. This goes back to a lot of the problems with ROH booking. Is Tony will do things, and then so I don't. Again, and like I said, Serena has had health issues the last year and a half or so. She's been cleared, but so I don't know if something has happened, and maybe it was a health thing on Serena's end, and that's why we went this way, or is it that Tony forgot that happened and just booked Deonna and Ashley instead? So I don't know what happened here, but again, I don't want to take anything away from them because that's incredible, history making moment for them. Brad says, unfortunately, those American NJPW shows are starting to now be worth it. The show was okay, but the stories have zero to do with NJPW proper. I can't really say one way or another because I didn't watch that show. I love the New Japan Strong shows. I think they're great, and they typically set up the next American show. Usually these storylines do so. And I think part of the thing Another thing I think about, because people were saying, oh, he said that they're not worth it. I mean, I enjoyed the last one. The only reason I didn't get Fridays was because I knew I wasn't going to get around to it. And also I had more surprise car issues that I wasn't prepared for. And so that was one more expense that I was like, you know what? I'm not, I'll just wait till it gets on. I'll just wait till it gets on New Japan World. Probably. I got other things to deal with. But somebody had was making the comment about about Azumi winning, and like that was dumb to do it then. But New Japan Strong, I mean, depending on what New Japan's plans are for those women's titles, again, they have their booking women is not their strong suit. They're new at it. Granted, they have been getting main event spots there, and they have booked better. But I mean, if New Japan has their own plans for what they want to do with that title, then they're not going to wait around for whatever Tony Khan's doing. But I assume because Rocky works for both companies, this is something they probably talked about on both ends. And I think it's going to play into Mercedes' larger story. And I think the timing of it actually does make sense for Mercedes. But what I wanted to ask Brad was, so we see Mina is now involved in this story, and she maybe got some payback for Wrestle Dynasty where Mercedes beat Mina. But then we also have Tekla, who cost Athena at Wrestle Dynasty as well, kept her from winning that match. So because I'm not somebody who knows a lot about Stardom, is there any possibility that Tekla and Mina will be working together in AEW? Are they costing these women on purpose? Is this leading to something? Is this just happened at the, it's kind of coincidental that both women have cost these champions matches? Or is there a possibility that maybe Mina and Tekla will come back to, maybe Mina returns to AEW and has Tekla in tow? Like, will they be working together, or is this just, did they have anything going on in Stardom, or were they just opponents? Or was there any way that perhaps this is maybe Mariah putting these two together, and then it's going to be the three of them together, maybe like a little stable. Mariah has her a little stable, or okay. Thank you. Okay. I knew Brad would know. Tekla and Mina have no connection. Tekla is in hate and a heel. Mina is an E next B and is a huge face. Okay. So it sounds potentially like it's just two coincidental things that happen. And okay. So that's why I was wondering, because I was like, that seems kind of like a big coincidence that they both are costing AEW's biggest champions matches. And are they doing something together, or did this just happen to be the way it worked out? They don't, and they're independent of each other. So I knew I was like, if Brad or Venkin or Colin or maybe even Daza, I was like, somebody in this chat will know.
Yes, Rock, thank you.
Can tell me. Appreciate that. So I was just curious about how this looks like. And again, I've been saying all along, I don't think that Mariah is leaving, and I really don't think she's leaving with Mina on her way in. And now we have Tekla on the way in. I don't think Mariah's going anywhere.
I hope you're right. I really do.
I think she's being, again, a smart business woman, and she's leveraging.
It's the right thing to do.
Which is what she should be doing. Let's see. Yeah, Hater did look like $1 million.
She was great. I love the
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo comparisons were a little funny, but she looked awesome.
Yeah, I thought that segment was really great. I thought they both played their parts well with that. I think that storyline needed something like that, especially because we're still a couple of weeks away from that. Brad says, I would love to see Mina hook up with Viva Van to do a Club Venus AEW edition. I was surprised that they had Viva Van lose to B Priestley at Resurgence, because they had kind of been building Viva Van up a little bit in the New Japan Strong stuff. It was not an announced match. It was I believe it was a dark match before the show, but B Priestley was part of the first set of releases that Cedric was in, and she had an unannounced match with Viva Van at Resurgence, and B Priestley won, which is interesting because they had, I don't know exactly what they were going to do with Viva Van, but Viva has been somebody they've been using more often at these American shows. So I was a little surprised to see Bea Priestley beat her, and it'll be interesting. I don't know if she signed or if they just happened to, the timing worked out, because that was literally the day her contract expired, or her contract expired at midnight, along with, when Cedric's and other people did so. It'll be interesting to see if Bea Priestley will now be in this strong women's division, or if she's going back to Stardom, or does both. But yeah, so I think, I know you said you've been busy, so you have not gotten to start BOSJ.
I've not gotten into BOSJ yet.
Okay.
I'm
the first night was solid. There was some really good, like Nick Wayne was in his first match. It was the B block. They started with B block because Walker was in California
Canada
for a resurgence. It was Charlton and Kevin Knight. And Kevin Knight is actually, he was pretty solid on commentary.
Nice.
I have gotten, since he's been in AEW, really get to see this personality that he has. He's really funny, and on commentary he was cracking me up a few times, because Kanemaru was wrestling and he said something like, Kanemaru was born in the 1900s, so he knows something, he knows how to do some things. And I was like, damn it, Kevin Knight. And so now I've been thinking about that line a lot. Kanemaru was born in 1900s. I too was born in the 1900s.
Me too,
Kevin.
I joke about that a lot.
We do, and that's why it made me laugh. I was like, yes, because Mel and I always talk about how we were born in the 1900s.
We were born in the 1900s. Yeah, I love saying that.
And so
I love making that joke with my kids now. It's hilarious. I'm always like, that's funny. Yeah, that's 1970. Yeah, it's the 20th century.
Right, this is the latter half of that.
It's fun being in a crossover, I guess.
Yes.
Being born
BOSJ Night 1 was fun.
I definitely am going to get to it, because this is my favorite tournament.
I haven't watched Night 2 yet either, but there is a really cool Ninja Mac gif that's going around.
Nice.
That I've seen quite a few times, and I enjoyed it. And I, like you said, I always love BOSJ as something Mel and I are huge fans of. And Kevin Knight, I saw the clip for AEW leading into, like, the clip is really funny, and so I can imagine, Kevin Knight's really funny, and I'm glad that he actually gets to show his personality, because we didn't really get to see it in New Japan before. So not only is he super talented, he's really funny, and you can kind of see these different things that he can do, like having him on commentary. I do know Night 2 has no English commentary, because Walker was on his way back to Japan, but then they said the rest of the way it will have English, and I'm pretty sure they said Wednesday is all 10 matches. So so last night was some tag matches. Like last night I only watched the tournament matches. Tonight's the same thing, where it's like tag matches and then the tournament matches. And then Wednesday we get to every single match is a tournament match.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. El Desperado has been a great champion and spokesperson for NJPW. Looking forward to him. Oh, that was a good one. That was on last night's show. Night 1 is Destiny versus T-Time.
He's been great. Good. I really like him a lot.
Really, really great one.
He's already had a match of the year for me, so
yeah. Yes, all 10 tournament. Yeah, that's where we're getting into that. Kenny Omega will pass the torch to Kevin Knight when he retires. I can see that. I would not be surprised if that happens, because Kevin is great.
He's fantastic.
And then Kushida is there, and that's his boy, and they're in the opposite blocks this year, and but you still got to see that, and you can tell how much Kushida means to him when he talks about him on because last night we got Kushida versus Hiramu, which two of my favorites, so I was all about that match. But it was a really solid night. I'm looking forward to Night 2. I'm looking forward to this tournament as always, because BOSJ is always a blast.
Always good.
And then we got and then it'll be to G1 season before we know it. And we're going to be we've got because I believe, if I remember right, somebody I'm sure will tell me for sure, but I believe G1 is like last year, where it ends like 2 weeks before Forbidden Door. So it'll be interesting to see how they build this, and if they build it like a true kind of more like Wrestle Dynasty, where it really is kind of, AEW versus New Japan, and not just kind of like, I enjoy them. I get the arguments that some people have against Forbidden Door, but I think it's just because
I like them.
I love both companies, and so
me too.
but I get it. Like, I get some of the concerns that people have about it. Like, I understand. And so hopefully this year, and now we've got the CMLL shows that are happening, like at the Arena Mexico and things like that. So that could lead to some interesting things, assuming they're doing Wrestle Dynasty again next year. We don't know for sure. But
right.
It seems to be the way that they're building these relationships that hopefully we are getting that. So I think Teton almost broke El Desperado with that top rope double stomp. He ain't getting any more glass out of there.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I like Despy's been great this year. He really has. I mean, he's been leveling up for years, but he's been really great.
We're getting like prime Desperado.
That's
I think like the last year or so, he's really like.
I love like when he won that juniors championship. I was like, oh, this makes total sense to me. I was like, I never thought about it, but now that it's happening, I'm like, oh yes. Yeah, most definitely.
He's great. And then I love Teton. I'm always excited to see him, and he always looks cool. He always has the coolest masks and the coolest gear. And so I always look forward to him. But yeah.
I mean, honestly, some of my first BOSJs Despy was on, and he had those like matches with Rocky and Will, and Rocky and Will had that match. Yeah. Like, those are some of the best matches I've ever seen, period. Like, yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm glad that it's there for me. That's what I know. Is like, this is like a time when I need to set those times away, and that's gonna be perfect. Because
that's what Nikki and I were like. Because Nikki was like, man, I thought we'd go a day without watching wrestling, and I was like, I know, but I want to try not to get. I don't want to try to get too behind on this tournament. I was like, it's easy, especially once we get to these 10 when they're doing 10 matches a night, to start getting behind. So it's like, I want to try to at least keep up with it as much as we can. Oh yes, he said, sorry, it was Akira versus Fujita. LMAO, man, too many good matches. It was a blur. Yeah, that one was a good too. I love Fujita.
Great.
I really hope Fujita has a great tournament. I think he will. I hope this is a big like coming out for him.
Totally.
Especially because he's by himself. He doesn't have his. Well, I was gonna say he doesn't have his TMDK guys, but he and Hartley have had a tag match, I think, on today's show, or for night 2. I think they did a tag show. He's got Hartley there with him, while Zach is, I think Zach is still in the States, because I think he's still doing some stuff over here. I don't think he's gone back yet. I think he's basically hanging out over here till it's G1 season.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I think he's just hit everything he can. But so I think we hit everything, and we had Mel's amazing stories from Dynamite and Collision, which I'm so glad that you got to go to those shows. I hope Tony keeps his end of the deal and does
his guarantee and promise.
Yes, guarantee and promise, and doesn't do like Brad said, where it's 3 years from now.
I mean,
like
look,
next year.
I would love for it to be next year or this year, but if it's 3 years, there's a couple of things. One, we'll get this pay-per-view, and two, it'll mean that AEW is around in 3 years.
Fair. That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, I'm a silver lining person. Like, if it takes 3 years, I'll be bummed. But if it happens eventually, I'm not going to be mad, and that means that we still have an AEW at 3 years.
That is a very good way to look at it. I think at least because of the TV deal, they should be here.
Yeah. and I mean, in an ideal world, we do continue to have an AEW because it's made wrestling in America better.
Imagine that.
Competition.
Wow,
competition breeds creativity, and
imagine we said that.
Yeah,
all those people who tried to tell us that, we were like, yeah, that's what this is.
Weird. It's like
funny how that happens.
You can have all of these.
So
we should get these people off to their Mother's Day and get you off to your Mother's.
Yes, and so also before we go, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching later on in the week, we appreciate that too. Make sure that you subscribe to the Fight Game Media Network, because it's not just us. We have, obviously, speaking of Strong Style, if you want more New Japan coverage, you've got that on Thursdays. There's the Dynamite show on Wednesdays. We also have, if you want more Joshi, then you have the 5-Star Joshi show. If you are a WWE fan, then you have the Rack with Keela and Salty Scott. That's on the that's not here on YouTube generally, unless it's the post shows, but They are on the Fight Game Media feed. You can also go to fightgamemedia.com and you can find everywhere to listen
Everything
to
and
those
everywhere.
shows. And yeah, so then there's special shows here and there talking about all kinds of different topics. And so we would love for you to subscribe because that helps everybody out. There's some amazing people on this channel putting out a lot of content for you every single week. And we appreciate any time that you spend with us. And yeah, I think that's it. And we will be back next week. And then the week after that, we will be here for our Double or Nothing pre-show. So got some good stuff. So yeah, sure we'll have some good stuff to talk about next week with Beach Break. So, and we will maybe Cedric will be there, maybe not, and we'll get to it. And yes, we unfortunately we did have to pay some tribute to Sabu, but we are glad that we were able to be here to talk about that with you guys. And we will be back next week, and we hope you'll join us.
We will. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Have a great week.